back at it again. Paying rent to what means. Will Sono-G survive? Alright. Oh! Summoning the bird! Ooh! Wait till Robin gets you! Ooh! Alright. Got Martha here to go through. Last bit on this table. Around the mansion at night often led to encounters. So might suddenly fill the walkway. What was going on? Or doors might appear and disappear. Sojo thought he had seen it all with pig-shaped shadows banging the carpet. He heard the sound of a bird slapping coming from the sunroom. Much as he had become accustomed to turning a blind eye at such occurrences, the sound of flapping wings in the sunroom was too much to ignore. Not just one bird, even two. It sounded like dozens. Many birds packed in the sun would inevitably lead to shattered windows and broken glass. Sojo grabbed a broom and dashed on the sound, prepared for the worst. He's gonna fucking smack a couple. Perhaps he was more moved by his natural impulses to help or desperate self-defense. His mind flashed what a teacher had said at school.
皆さんも部屋の整頓は心がけてくださいね。人間の自制心って環境に流されるらしいですから。ほら、それまで犯罪の少ない町だったのに、一つボロボロの家ができただけで、近隣住人がみんな自堕落になるというあれ。
No! He needs to pay rent!
環境への無関心さがすさんだ精神を作り上げるとか眉唾ですけど、正直なところブームだからって盗んだバイクで走り回ったり、学校の廊下の窓ガラスとか割って回っちゃダメですよ。先生の仕事が増えますから。
Thanks, teacher. Really looking out for every school gains to garner a certain reputation among these.
窓が割れると心が割れる。
Way too philosophical for birds. Sojo appreciated the basic message of the lecture as he ruminated. Thought a broken windows to give him a sense of urgency, as if the mansion's very moral foundations were at stake. His roommates were harsh enough with him already. Anything further would lead to rampant rumors in school about their cruelty. He had to protect the honor of the student council president. This was also considered for his own safety that sent him rushing to the sunroom. However, there wasn't a bird to be seen or a chirp to be heard upon his arrival. Else and Alcos afternoon to get the table that over the foyer were present. Dozens of birds Sojo had sensed with his mountain intuition were nowhere to be seen. Alka, where are the birds? What? The birds, Alka. Where'd you put the birds? What the fuck?
今ここに鳥が来なかった。
アリス、見た？さあ、もう見えないのならいないということでしょう。
If I can't see them, must not be any birds.
だっていないよ、鳥。
Sojo, I think you're getting punked. It was a lie so blatant even Sojo could see through it.
そんなバカな。
He knew for a fact he had heard the flapping of a flock of birds. And it will accept that there were really no wild animals in the room. Sojo approached the windows with suspicion. Whether there's any signs of birds having been outside either.
あ、夕食
鶏鍋？
Of course, Akko would say something that she watched Sojiro search desperately.
あいにく今日のバイトは魚屋さんだ。イワシでよければ土産にするけど。
イワシ。イワシか？私、あのパイ嫌いなのよね。
Ew! Or did you even think about putting it in a pie?
いえ、むしろイワシのパイとか食べたことないのよね。
Akko-san routine was far ahead of its time. And they would never get it. Until 10 years later. Sojiro backed away from the window, begrudgingly let the sun. Young Alice is all too familiar and scribbled great gaze upon his back.
なんだいアリ。
Because he was about to ask what she wanted. Get her, Robin! A blue comet crashed into his head. It needed no explanation. It could only be Robin, this bird that appeared frequently in the bird up and shrilled accusingly. The truth was, the tiny aggressor to assault him just now was the grace of the mansion's 7 wonders. Bird. Verb. Fisher encountered all sorts of people along his route to work. When he was sea life, he found the crowds of people outside the station utterly fascinating. In fact, they were the highlight of this community. No two people wore exactly the same clothes or walked in the same fashion. So many people, you would think they would all melt into an indistinguishable huddle. The person he saw was different and unique. Roger was excited as a child as he looked out the bustling, diverse streets of the city.
いや、
Information! Closing his eyes in shame, he sighed. He considered himself for behaving like a bumbling tourist from the country.
ちょっと、青信号で突っ立ってられるの邪魔なんだけど。何柄にもなく黄昏てるんだか。
A familiar voice behind him snapped him out of his navel gazing.
なんだ、マッドベアに行く途中だったんだ。私はコンビニのバイト。こっちは5時からだけど。
同じく5時から。くまりはどこか寄るところでも？
Oh, character we still don't have a name for.
本屋に寄った帰り、読みたかった本がなくなってたから、仕方なく出歩いてたところよ。
なるほど。時間を持て余しているところも同じだね。
There we go. The girl who greeted him was Kochika Kumari, a work friend who was also in the same year in Misaki High. It would have been more accurate to say she was looking for a pretext to fight him rather than greet him. Somebody outside the fuck ass circle. Jiro Kumari had been the first person in the city he could look up to. They met at his first job, where she insisted he wasn't cut out to work the register after many mistakes and quit working convenience stores altogether. And they introduced him to his current job at the Chinese restaurant The Mad Bear, a much better fit for Sojiro.
何その無理やりな顔。なんか元気ない。いつも以上にイラッとくるわ。しずきのいいところなんていつもピシッとしてる背筋ぐらいなのにみっともなく丸まってるし。もしかして
Kumari's normal.
マット
Just a normal
タ
girl.
チの悪い先輩でもいるとか。それなら話ぐらいは聞いてあげるから。
Though her tone was stern, her eyes were earnest. Also, they introduced her name in here in an optional story. Having grown up in the city herself, she was irritated by virtually everything Sojiro said. Nevertheless, she still treated him like an equal. His current job is just one example of her sincerity.
いや別に悩みとかそういうんじゃなくて不思議なことがあったというか
Too short.
珍しいものを見たというか
Sono-G could not find the words to explain the situation, but did not stop him from trying. There were no problems with the mad bear to speak of. Like just as much as his other job at Otatsu, the fishmongers in the shopping district. In fact, his problem had nothing to do with work at all. This problem was a certain blue bird that would not stop pecking at him recently.
鳥につっつかれる。何それ、小さい悩み。
Getting birded?
でもまあ、青い鳥っていうのは確かに珍しいわね。
いや珍しいのは外見の話じゃなくて
Stop not sure of how to proceed. Bird on the brain. Powerful image. Powerful image. Where's the Onana to convey the bird's plump body or the sound of its chirping?
ふーん。綺麗な青色といったらマウンテンブルーバードだけど、日本にはいないわよね。青いツバメだったらいるかもしれないけど。
いやツバメじゃなくて丸っこいんだ図鑑で調べたんだけどどうもコマ鳥っぽいけど
うん、青色のコマ鳥は存在しない。
I was on blue.
しずきは縁日の青ひよこって知ってる？知らないわよね。いい、そう面白い話じゃないから忘れて。
You know those blue chicks have hairs? Nope. No, you actually don't know. You wouldn't know.
それより、そのコマ鳥って1話だけなの？
ああ1羽だけだつがいは見当たらない
ふーん。突然変異だとしたらちょっとかわいそうね。
I'll probably put this up on YouTube. So I've been slacking a little bit on YouTube, but there's nothing that I really consider putting up recently for it. Like, my image is like, I did originally put Buried Stars up, but they had the warning at the end for the mystery and everything, and also I was getting more irritated. I didn't feel it was really worthy putting up the Buried Stars, but I just let that one rot. The same with Star Ocean 2. As much as I had too many gripes with Star Ocean 2 that I feel like, I don't want to put it up. This one will probably go. Actually, like, I did put a base combat 4 recently.
1話だなんて。孤独にも程があるわ。どんな鳥かは知らないけど、次に見かけたら優しくしてあげたら、自販機で10円を拾うぐらいの幸運は運んでくれるかもよ。
You're nice to the bird, Sojiro. Might bring you goodies. Birds are perfectly kind, but you can hardly sympathize with the creature after all the painful pegging to which you tricked him. You wouldn't have called the bird lonely either.
いいじゃない、小鳥1羽ぐらい。そりゃ都会で鳥につつかれるのは珍しいけど、いい方の珍事よそれ。これがゴミ袋を漁るカラスの大群だったら困りものでしょうけど。
そういえば他にも気になることが
Your symbol reminded me of the mystery that the spring birds to me. Strangers in strange event.
実は今あそこに見える丘に住んでるんだけど
Hey, I live in the mountains.
出るんだ大量のムクドリが頻繁にそのくせ街に出ると見かけない
当たり前でしょう。街じゃ鳥なんて見かけないし、あそこは山だから動物は多いんじゃない？それよりあなた、あの山に引っ越したの？前のアパートは引き払ったって聞いてたけど学校まで通うの大変じゃない？なんだってあんな偏僻なところに。
A very normal question is like, why the so far away?
ちょっとした成り行きだよそれに通うのは大変じゃない大変なのは中の話なんだ
It took 30 minutes to reach town on foot. 40 minutes to the nearest convenience store would be the real kicker for most people, but for Sojo it was no inconvenience. Europop was the dark forces beyond human understanding that lurked within the grounds. 30-minute walk, 40 minutes for convenience store. That's not really an issue. The real problem is the unintelligible monsters of the deep that lurk in between. It's just walking hazards, you know.
すまない。それはクマリに話すことじゃなかった。
But they don't even have to pay rent. That's the fucked up thing.
それより今の話だ。町には鳥が少ないと言ったけど、どうして？
単に環境に適応できなかったのよ。何？鳥の話には随分と食いつくわね。しずき、動物好き？
どちらかというと好きな方だけど。
I do like, I do like animals more than I dislike them. Sandro, do you like running or swimming more? Stupid. I'm still hung up on that question. Never randomly think about it. It's like, yeah, running or swimming? Yeah, I like swimming more. Why didn't you tell me you couldn't swim?
そう、私は嫌い。そんな私に鳥の話とかしてほしい。
Her statement could hardly be more self-contradictory. Instead of telling him to be nice to a bird that attacked him, she was now claiming she doesn't even like animals.
そうだな。嫌いなだけで苦手でないのなら、知ってる範囲で聞かせてほしい。
痛いとこつくじゃない。いいわ、バイトまでの時間つぶしにしてあげる。さっきの続き、環境に適応できるかできないかってところからね。
So nice.
今でこそこんなだけど、岬はここまで大きな町じゃなかったんだって。昔はその半分が森だったから、彼らはもともと森に適した生活をしていたのよ。
Mari addressed them was of note. Whether she liked them or not, she seemed to have at least some respect for them.
でも近代化した町じゃ、自然のサイクルも成り立たない。人間ってのは、まず環境を自分たちの都合に変えるから。ヤブ蚊が多いってことで小さな川の流れを変えたり、街中コンクリートで塗り固めちゃえば、鳥的にはお手上げよ。
What you do with the inescapable Gehana that's underneath the city? The what?
虫も森も少ないんじゃ、もう山に逃げるしかない。彼らは故郷を追われて、この森から山に移った。人間にとって都合のいい町は、鳥たちが生きるコロニーにはなり得ないから。
そんなことぐらいで減るものか？その姿を見なくなるぐらいに？
そこまで極端じゃないとは思う。現にあなただってムクドリを見てるでしょ？比較の問題よ。街には人間が多いから鳥の姿は余計希少に感じるだけ。たまに見かけるだけで珍しいと思えるぐらいにね。
I will say it is a little bit fucked to see how birds be a very rare sight of Asaki. It's like, there's not that few birds. Like, what? What the fuck?
ああ、確かに。じゃあ鳥は町からいなくなっただけで、
Christ.
あの山に移り住んで。
In downtown, I see a million pigeons. I'd be able to see them day-to-day life, but they were alive and well nonetheless. Lifestyle changed with time, so they aren't truly. First sense of relief was sharply struck by a serious look from.
あの山に天敵がいなければね。人間の手による乱獲か、移った先にいる生態系との衝突か。どちらにせよ、居場所を失った彼らの寿命は短いと思う。
Or maybe a little
一
bit of a
世紀
dupe.
持てばいい方かもしれない。旅行鳩の例もあるし、気がついた時には取り返しつかないのが動物と人間の関係よ。
旅行鳩？
そう、旅行鳩。体長は40センチほどもある大型の綺麗な鳥。オスの翼は深い青色で、胸は鮮やかなエンジ色。オレンジ色の目は嘘みたいに愛らしくて、その羽は時速100キロで長い距離を旅するの。
There's a certain tenderness to it. Daydreaming of birds she'd never seen in the flesh.
北アメリカにいた鳩でね、春は南から北へ、冬は冬越えのために北から南に移動するの。今から100年以上も前の話よ。彼らはかつて 地上で最も繁殖した高等動物だった。何しろその数は50億。当時の総人口より多かったっていうんだから、圧巻よね。
なんと人間より数の多い動物がいたっていうのか？
うん。でも彼らは絶滅したわ。他ならぬ人間の手によって。16世紀にヨーロッパからアメリカ大陸にやってきた探検家たちは空を覆い尽くすほどの鳥の群れを見た。それが旅行鳩を記した一番古くて確かな記録。まあ私も本で知った知識だけど、太陽を隠してそのおびただしい数で森を覆って雪のように糞を落としていく光景なんて今じゃもう夢物語でしょうね。でも当時の人にとっては悪夢だった。旅行鳩一羽一羽は美しいフォルムをしていても、それだけの数が集まればそれはもう暴力なんだから。
Up there are extinct. Yep.
彼らはその時点では森を破壊し人間を脅かす悪魔のような存在だった。
Demonic beast. It's 5 billion pigeons.
営装地は10
The
キロ
FGO announcement
1コロニー
battle
につ
font.
き5万羽近い鳥の鳴き声が響いたのよ。一瞬にして風景を変えるほどの鳥の群れと世界を覆うほどの鳴き声。冒険家たちが救んだのもうなずけるわね。
一つの住処に5万羽。
The trials tend to count the number with its digits. You can barely count the number of people in the crowd outside the station. This would be far beyond his capacity. Yeah, right, don't do this to him.
でもそんな数の鳥を人間の手でどうやって？
ええ、当時誰もがそう思ったんでしょうね。でも話は簡単だったの。人間にとって旅行鳩は脅威でもあったけど、同時に安価な実りでもあったから。渡り鳥の胸肉は美味しいでしょ？よく鍛えられてるから。そんな食材が
Tasty.
空に向かって鉄砲を撃つだけでバタバタと落ちてきたとしたら、あなたはどうする？まあ身も蓋もないことを言えば、旅行鳩って鳥は簡単にお金にできる生き物だった。かくして狩りは延々と続けられた。落ちた鳥は羽をむしられて塩漬けの樽に押し込まれて次々と出荷された。それはもう狩りですらなかった。ただの消費。人間側は労働の実感も作業の手間すら感じなくなっていた。その頃旅行鳩は1羽1セントで手に入れることができたんだって。ここで言うならたった1円。ほんと
Kind of true now.
信じられる？その国最小の通貨1枚で売買される命がこの地球にはあったなんて。
Let's focus if we're sighting for darkness, unless that has certain darkness to it. Pay for the slain birds or disgust for a fellow man. The way the passenger pigeon's fate was a cruel joke carried out by humanity. Typical, some might say. First, Sojo had yet to comprehend just how typical that side of humanity.
けどそれはまだまだ序の口で、本番は19世紀に入ってからだった。人間の旅行鳩狩りはますます熱狂していった。学校で習ったでしょ？ゴールドラッシュ。南北戦争を経てアメリカ合衆国は急激に成長していく。西欧からの移民は増え続け、1870年には4000万もの人口に達していたわ。そんな移民たちの胃袋と財布を満たす材料として旅行鳩は最高の獲物だった。で、もっと最悪なことに人間は工夫する生き物だった。彼らはより早く、より多く、より簡単に旅行鳩を乱獲する手段を競い合った。
I guess the more modern day comparison would be offshore Chinese fishing rigs, how much they're killing fish at extremely alarming
目を
rates.
つぶした鳩をおとりにして集団を誘い込んで1日で1万羽以上捕らえたやつさえいた。それでも彼らは乱獲に疑問すら持たなかった。繁殖と狩猟のバランスは誰が見ても明らかに狂っていたのに。
Did everything she could, speaking in calm, measured tones. Neil was completely raptured by her words. Him raised the mountains is by no means a happy story for him. Right now, he was more interested in what had ever happened in the.
それ一方的すぎないか？旅行鳩だって数が減ってくれば人間には近寄らないんじゃ。
そこが彼らの不幸だったのよ。旅行鳩は繁殖力が非常に弱くて自衛手段を持たない鳥だった。大群で暮らすこと、それだけが彼らの身を守る手段だったの。彼らが50億の王国を築けたのはそれまで天敵がいなかったからなんでしょうね。先住民であるインディアンも彼らを乱獲することはなかったというし、けど入植者たちは自然のサイクルには点で疎かった。何よりあのおびただしい数の鳥が絶滅するなんて夢にも思わなかった。旅行鳩にしたら晴天の霹靂よ。まさか何世紀も遅れて海の向こうから天敵がやってくるなんて。
Barber.
そうして1896年、人間はようやく熱狂を冷ますほどの現実に直面したわ。たったの25万羽。それが確認された旅行鳩の総数。何もかも手遅れよ。急いで保護法が作られたけど、人間の習慣はそう簡単には変わらないわ。あるいは狩人たちはこう思ったのかもしれない。まだ25万羽もいるじゃないか。1000羽や2000羽ぐらいなら独り占めしても構わないだろうって。そうしてハンターたちは当時最新の技術、電報で旅行鳩たちの所在を知らせ合って、実に20万羽の旅行鳩を仕留め、4万羽を傷つけた。生き延びたのは5000羽だけ。この時点で彼らは野生で生きられる種ではなくなったのよ。
His face sunk into his scowl. No longer able to survive in the wild. All too well what that phrase meant. An animal can last long on its own. An animal can survive with sufficiently large population, full kind, and sufficient feeding grounds to support the strength their massive numbers is all the passenger pigeons ever had, and so once that was gone, they were as good as extinct.
それで旅行鳩はどうなったんだ？
最後に保護された旅行鳩はたったの3羽。シンシナティの動物園ではオス2羽、メス1羽の旅行鳩が飼育されたけど、1年でオスたちは死んじゃったわ。残されたのはメス1羽だけ。その時点で彼女は地上で最も孤独な生き物になった。名前はマーサー。北アメリカを旅する鳥たちの最後の1羽でありながら、ただの一度も空を飛ぶことができなかったカゴの鳥。結局29年で彼女はその命を終えたわ。1914年9月1日午後1時。一つの種が終わる時間がここまで正確に残っている例は今のところこれだけよ。
Alright, 5 billion deaths have finally come to an end. The birds have been swallowed up by the machinations of human civilization. Mari had intended to show her sympathy for the lost species, but the emotional impact had clearly been all but lost on Sojo.
意外。できるだけ私的に語ったつもりだけど受け悪いみたい。山育ちのあなたには憤慨物の話だと思ったのに。
いや、すごい話だったけど、整理がつかなくて。当時の人たちは自分たちの手で減らしておいたのに、なんで最後は保護したのかって。
Mari stared blankly at him, eyebrows raised high. Well, likely meant to ask was why humans would protect the last of a species. They themselves had hunted to do. Mariah be blamed for her bewilderment. Raised in the city, she failed to recognize the danger inherent in his cluelessness. But neither anger toward humans, their base selfishness, nor sympathy for the birds, and their natural habitat even at the cost of their lives. His upbringing had not provided him with a necessary sense of self-righteousness to produce feelings in either direction.
相変わらずよくわかんないやつ。
Testament to humankind's cruelty.
まあ私が言いたかったのは、どんなに強く美しく見えても居場所から追われた生き物は儚いってこと。しずきくん、あなたが見た鳥はその最後の一羽かもしれないわよ。
You know, that throttle conversation came to an end. Night time for the shifts to begin, and Sojo was the first to head off.
らしくない。何熱く語ってたんだろう私。
Maya remained in the park after Sojo left. Martha, the last of her species. I referred to the bluebird when she mentioned Martha, but
やめやめ。珍しいから特別視するとかバカみたいだし。
rubbed the back of her head, apparently angry at herself for getting involved in something that was. She and Sojo were not even in the same class at school. A stranger as far as she was concerned. The more something bothered her, the more she felt compelled to investigate it. A personal quirk of hers and the only reason she had gotten so worked up about the passenger pigeon. Mari's well-groomed brow furrowed. She only spoke to Sojo to make sure he was doing okay at the Mad Bear. That she had been strangely drawn to him. I spoke to more, she felt drawn to him.
まあ見てて頼りないってのが一番だろうけど、話してみるとしっかりしすぎてるのよね彼。
No matter complained, she recalled their conversation upon parting.
で、少しは街に慣れた？
He had given a weak shake of his head.
全然。何にせよ覚えなくちゃいけないことが多すぎて。
Trying his best to keep up with the overwhelming amount of new information every day. However, despite his apparent naivete and frailty, he was in fact trying to learn everything he could about his new surroundings. But at the same time, there was no reason it seemed so overwhelming in the first place. Only due to his own naively subordinate frame of mind that he felt compelled to memorize each and every.
どうだろう。素直っていうのはちょっと違うと思うよ。単にそれがいいことか悪いことかまだ分かってないだけかもしれないし。
He awkwardly claimed.
そうね。でももしかしたらそもそも。
Grace stopped herself mid-train of thought, decided to instead say goodbye and take her. She sighed aloud every time she replayed the scene in her head. Work at the convenience store started in 5 minutes. Here's the light slap in the face in an effort to forget their conversation. Matter still that she had neither the energy to worry about other people's problems nor the obligation to do so. She had her own concerns, saving up enough money for college, for example. Fighting against her parents' opposition every night was draining enough. There was no room for burning herself with others.
でももしかしたらそもそもか。
Like her to get so tongue-tied. Rain smile.
ほんとはっきり言ってやればよかった。あなたは単にそういうのに関わる気がこれっぽっちもないんじゃないのかって。
He really did annoy her. Now in a thoroughly bad mood, she left the park in a huff. When Sojo entered the drawing room after work with a gift of sardines for his roommates, he came face to face with Alice sitting on the sofa.
や、こんばんはアリス。
Very to be able to say, I'm home and enter the main. Sojo. He had to search the kitchen to fill a bucket with water to keep the sardines fresh. Yeah, he's staring at his back, sending him anxiously to the refrigerator instead.
台所にバケツはダメなんだな。
Oh, buckets. Don't accidentally change in planes, he shoved the sardines into the fridge and peeked back into the drawing room.
アリス、青崎は？
さあ、自分の部屋にいるか出かけているんでしょう。
I was Kurt. Now and got to work cleaning the kitchen. So you wanted to say to her, and also since it would not be a good idea to start a conversation needlessly. They tied up the sink area, washed the cutting board, wiped down the knives, and put away the cutlery so they could. Her black eyes monitored every action in streamlined workflow. Rhythm that even the most seasoned housekeeper would be envious of. Joey noticed her gaze before too. Been over to store a large pot in his sink when it happened. Being to stand back up, he locked out his house, and then. Fucking finally! I've been waiting for this moment. For the bird to finally start speaking. Before he could make another move, he felt something slide in the back of his head. A bright shock of blue. He knew what it was without looking. It could only be the mansion's blue robin.
洋館に戻ってくるなり、コマ鳥に呼び出される。
ねえてーせやー小僧、今すぐロビンに顔を貸せっせ。
Mayday! Sojo muttered under his breath. His reverse situation made Sojo feel like complaining.
小僧、ちょっとそこに座れっす。
Robin chirped in a shrill tone. See, this little creature left to attack Sojo so was the greatest of the mansion's many wonders. And with good reason.
舐めてるっすね。自分コマ鳥だって舐めてるっすね。ところで、鳥鍋ってどういうことっすか？それ美味しいっすか？今度見舞ってほしいっす。
Welcome to the bird that says nonsense. The bird that will just say shit. Informate. Hold on, no, not a reaction scene. I got a Cockney rhyming slang. I get it because the A's and mates. I wonder if I still have it in my yeah, it is entirely one of the what the fuck is this bird saying? What is going on with it? Go through my likes. Gotta scroll all the way to when the Mahoyo event dropped. I can say that's when I liked it. This bird will just say shit. Like so. They're trying to inkling what the bird was getting at. Race to the mountains, this was an utter nightmare. Animals are not supposed to be able to talk. Then again, having lived in the mountains for over a decade, he did sometimes feel like he could understand what birds were trying to say. Imagination, but sometimes he thought they even saw him as a friend. This is not the case with this bird. Soldier had a realist attitude toward wild animals as a result of being familiar with them, in contrast to the ever-mysterious humans who live in the city.
しかし、
I'm still back scrolling, by the way. As much as he wanted to that reality he was facing, he could not help but recall Kumari's story. He had to try and be nice to the bird the next time he saw it. According to her, any rare one-of-a-kind creature must accordingly feel very lonely.
座れって言ってるのに仕方っすか。 あーでも椅子ないっすねここ。じゃあ立ってるっす。小坊主だけに廊下に立ってるのがお似合いっす。あれ今うまいこと言ったんすかね自分。
Thank you, Bird. Bird sources of the telephone receiver seemingly worn out from all the flapping. Okay, I can't fucking find it. Somebody else might have it. So instead, have a spoiler for a holiday event from, this year's FGO. Simon Jones' problem. It's infuriating. This bird is stupid. Sojiro was dumbfounded. Situ in silence was the bird shadows way expressing his denial. Don't ask why I'm blue.
特技はズバリ探偵役と被害者役。でも探偵である自分が真っ先にコロコロするんで、誰が自分を殺したか結局誰もわからないっす。
It doesn't matter. It fits the bird being an old as shit ploy and also being at times just like, what the fuck is this talking about? Random shit, random chirping. It's chirping. This is what it is. It's, the cockney's chirping.
プロイ、待ってくれ。それには聞き覚えがある。プロイって何なんだ？
何なんだと言われても困るっす。
Ask what I use.
エロいとか役いいとかの最上級じゃないっすか。
See, Tsukihime may have Neko arc. Mihoyo has Robin. You may. Who knows which one is worse? Thusly, the conversation began between the two most powerless residents of the Kuwanji estate. Humankind and birdkind, able to understand one another after all. Sojourner's tired of letting the bird get to him, fully aware that ignoring it took more energy than it was worth. Resignation, by the time he finally did make an attempt to interject, both parties' guards were firmly down. Sojourner was focused on how rare the bird was, while Robin was focused on a showdown with his rival that was to be eliminated at all costs. The gag running was part of the plot. Bird up.
そんなことよりマイ天使アリスさんの話をするっす。
なんと、アリスって天使なのか？
No. I see why they're in the Mihoyo event for Echio, quote unquote Mihoyo 5, that these two were fucking paired together. In the shop now. It was an impressive sign of progress. They did not need to ask what an angel was.
いいっす。自分にとって天使のような存在ってことっす。下界の喧騒とか自分の言葉をガン無視するところとかマジ天使。アリスさんは神聖不可侵にして冷酷非道。マイ女神であったところの母君とはちょっと毛色が違うっす。正直母君。ちょっと育て方間違ったっすね。
I just think Goddess Mom didn't do a good job here.
そうか。そりゃアリスにもお母さんはいるんだよな。この家にはいないようだけど。
イエス。悲しいことに見まかられたっす。あの頃は全員泣いたっす。アリスさんにもしないて欲しかったっす。後でアルバムとか見るっすか？6ペンスで手を打つっすよ。
Fucking bird. These were $20. I got pictures of her for 6 pence if you want it.
いや、そういうのは本人の許しがないと。
Joe said earnestly as he tilted his head. This is for Osaka Bahima and FGO. Yeah! I was... You know... That's the best choice. Bahime in bird form. Hackney Osaka Bahime. Hackney Hime. But his attached to passive attitude, he was still young and like any other after all.
Yes, それはそうっすね。お前、シャバ像の割にいいこと言うっす。人の過去花とかみだりにしちゃいけないっす。ところで、アリスさんの子供時代の話とかしていいっすか？自分シャバ像の知らねえアリスさんを赤裸々にアピールして精神的上位に立ちたいっす。
Okay, so I think for Japan, for her VA is just adding in "s" as an ending to sentences sometimes. And a "s" vocal ending kind of deal instead of the Cockney accent. Oh, good for memory.
あ、いや、だからそういう話は。
Oh, no.
安心しろっす。アリスさんには黙っておいてやるっすから。
Rabbit
まずはあ
and
れっすね。自分とアリスさんが初めて出会った時のメモリーを聞くっすよ。アリスさん、見えて友達一人しかいなかったっすから、もっぱら自分が話し相手っつうか。ほら、壁相手にカコーンカコーンってピンポン玉打ち返すゲーム、あんな感じっす。アリスさんのメモリーはおよそ14年分。じゃあ1年目から行くっすよ。
Oh.
いや、だから。
No.
行かせや
You can see
行かせや
Oh no.
もう誰も自分を止められないっす。
Stupid bird. This bird was trouble. The word bird brain had taken on a whole new meaning to Sojiro. If he were stuck here any longer, he had the feeling he might hear something he would not be able to unhear.
すまない。そろそろいいかな。
Waving his hand, he attempted to flee to the attic above the second floor.
ちょ、待つっす。ここからがいいところなのになんで去るっすか。スカーレット・オハラっすか。激動の主人公気取りっすか。そのあたり自分なんか納得いかないっす。まだうちに入ったばかりの新参者がなんでアリスさんの視点を独り占めしてるっすか。許せないっすけど、その秘訣を教えてほしいっす。切実に。自分本気出したらすごいっすよ。
何？
After the observatory, Sojiro quickly retraced his steps. Hold on.
君、今のはどういう。
だからアリスさん好きあらばお前を見てるっす。思い出したんすよ。そもそも自分熱視線でサーチされてるからって突き上がるなと釘刺しに来たんす。
Ready to look at her mince pies?
だいたいSono-Gは何度も自分に助けられてるっす。アリスさんの
Sono-G
命令がなかったら今頃Sono-G鏡の中でおだぶつっす。これなんすかね。人間の感情とかわかんないっすけど、魚辺に砂糖とか書くっすかね。
What the fuck? Also, the bird calls him Sono-G too. Where did the bird pick that up?
助けられてるって俺が？
Ew, you humans get all sick over.
まあ殺そうとしてるのもアリスさんっすけどね。アリスさんはこう言ったっす。彼が鏡の中に迷い込みそうになったら助けてあげて、 危険なものには近寄らないように誘導もしてあげて。でも思い上がらないことね、しずきくん。別にあんたのことが心配なわけじゃ。
And dead. It happened in a flash. 23%. Puzzle. With a swift, unhesitating strike of her hand, Alice squashed the bird right then and there as the sound of the telephone receiver in the foyer. Her first paw continued to pin it down. The bird's crushed form resembled a bright rubber ball, like what a child might play with. It's a Christ.
そして痛い。体中の血液がくちばしからこう右方向に流れていく感覚とか。
Bird raised a mighty uproar.
こういうことは気にしない。
You didn't have to add motion. Alice returned to the drawing room, taking the bird with her. Her dark sword cloaked in the shadow was the complete opposite of the gaudy little bird. So Drew folded his arms, he stood alone, no less confused than before, and whispered,
こうしてますます疑問は増えていくのだった。
That was fucking weird. The night sky visible through the skylight. The question is, who's the bird there? Is it Robin or is it Al? And that's her first exposure to Robin. It will not be her last exposure to Robin. Are you for real? Saki High School's winter vacation began in mid-December. The most important part of the stream, whenever that bird Robin comes up. The tranquil air of the school is a refreshing change of pace from the more competitive schools and the nationally famous sports teams and exam-oriented curriculum. Oh yes, because that was just 4 hours, my voice. The empty new constructed buildings evoked images of pure white swans setting upon a still winter lake. The orange school building felt alive in its stillness in spite of the absence of its light. You knew what this building used to look like. All run down one building, shadow. The school was never torn down and now stood in lonely silence. Tucked away deep in the seemingly infinite wood that stretched across the sound of brooms sweeping dead leaves resonated in the air. The sound of oceans had accumulated into piles as big as it was a futile venture at this point. An ominous feeling lingered in the air, perhaps the result of 2 years of abandonment. Putting the inside of the building alone would take more than a few days to finish. Not to mention...
本当だり、存在価値が見出せねえ。ばっかじゃねえの。冬休みは短いってのになんでこんなことやらせんだよ、生徒会は。
This guy needs sent here for the job, wasted no time making it clear he wanted to be no part of the B2.
ちゅうかジャージでやらせんなよ。ジャンパーぐらい着させろよな。何これ、もしかして体育の報酬？寒中マラソン？俺体育だけはサボったことねえんすけどね。
Kosuke Kenomi continued to mumble and grumble to himself as he abruptly swept away at the ground. He also drove silently and swiftly continued sweeping, glaring at Kenomi out of the corner of his eye.
おい、何真面目にやってんだよ。こんなの適当でいいんだって。だいたい40人しかいねえのにこんな山みたいな庭の掃除なんか終わるかってんだ。
Also, it is very funny. Going back to Martha real quick, it is very funny. Just like, hey, if you give care and attention to the bird, it might bring you something good. And all the bird did was just bring Alice's ass. So it's like, oh no. What kind of rare and unique things it brought? 10 yen coin or Alice's darkest secrets?
終わらないことなんてない。少しうるさいぞ、木の実は。
Brooms are cheaper. Going back to idly swinging his room, without even glancing over Sono. Or the winter mountain were cold. Sun and cloudy sky above, ash gray light illuminated the rear courtyard. The sharp cold of midwinter pierced everyone's gloves if did not. A day like this was best spent indoors under warm blankets, but for some reason they're out here cleaning. Special winter cleaning team. Given the elite force set to clean up this dilapidated, overgrown mountain. There are students who put their faith into this team to fulfill its beautification mission, respecting them for their sacrifice. In reality, however, this was nothing more than a ragtag, dare-losing gang of students needing remedial lessons for further. They were victims of a year-long arm-twisting scheme by the student council. When the right mind would come out here to sweep up leaves with a blizzard looming on the horizon. Other than one of the 40 assembled, none of them had any semblance of interest in the task at hand.
おい見ろよしずき、赤羽たち向こうで焼き芋とかレトロな真似してやがるな、2番戦時はいかにも頭悪いしな。そうだ、俺たちはイカでも焼かねえ。
Kenomi did not want to be here to begin with and was constantly trying to break Sojo into joining him. Like, this guy even lied to him, ignoring Kenomi. Cleaning squad was divided into groups. Sojo and Kenomi were in charge of cleaning the area behind the gymnasium. Sojo was the leader of the platoon, Kenomi was the grunt.
ああ、こことあっちの垣根をきれいにしたら、焼き芋だろうと焼きイカだろうと猫鍋だろうと好きにしよう。その頃にはちょうどお昼だ。
That is, the expertly packed leaves in the trash bags. As it passes, they assembled on this foggy mountain and someone and chat and laughed as they worked. Sojo and London worked to complete silence of the same blistering started. The amount of work he put in was likely the only thing keeping him from complaining of the cold in this danger.
なあ、やめようぜ。見ろ、そこの池、スケートリンク。やっぱ池？とにかくそこの池らしきものだってカチカチに凍ってるぐらいなんだぜ。こんな雪原じゃ人体は普通動かねえよ。機械伯爵でもなきゃだよ。そろそろ人間狩りが始まるよ。なんで、いい加減休憩しね。
Double on his shoulder.
せっかく枯葉集めたんだから燃やして温まんないとさ。どうせ監視役は殿下しかいないんだしさ。なあ、焼きイカやろうぜ。焼きイカ。
He's trying so hard. For some reason, Kenomi was joining on about a squid. Managed to withstand the barrage of complaints from his comrade, but even he was reaching his limit.
木の実、頼むから。
Sojo saw the Grim Reaper himself creeping behind Kenomi. In his hands, he held a rake instead of a soft bamboo broom.
いいぜ。お前がイカなんてもんを用意してるほどの大人物だってんなら、慎んでイカ焼きぐらい許可してやるよ。なんなら醤油はこっちで用意してやろう。
Is that the Grim Reaper? Peter shot to attention of the voice behind him.
その物言い、築地何がし。
Quickly turned around so he gets his broom in the process. Tobimaru easily blocked the swing with his rake.
ああ、てめえ、やる気十分じゃねえか。溢れる労働意欲を抑えきれないってわけか。なんならシベリアコースにでも行っちまうか。
Tobimaru, you bastard.
女ども集めて焼却炉に陣取ってる野郎の言葉なんざ聞かねえよ。真冬に南国気分とかマジ寒いわ。
Both boys glared at each other with a wry smile. Broom and rake locked it in the embrace. These two were the only friendly with each other on school grounds.
飛び丸、一応彼は戦力なんだから邪魔しないでくれ。
Both of them scoffed angrily and put away their weapons. They both knew better than to argue with Sojo, the only one cleaning with a garbage bag in hand.
それで何しに来たんだ飛び丸。君はあったかい焼却炉の前で永遠に火の管理をすると豪語していたんじゃなかったっけ。
Even he's just like, yeah, you're not doing shit, man. A harsh comment. Apparently, Sojo had a slight taste for drama.
なんてこった。善良な生徒ですら俺をそんな目で見るのか。
They were sad at Sojo's observation. As long as Tormagara continued to claim himself with the girls clean by doing nothing more than staying from a pile of burning leaves, Sojo found it hard to sympathize.
いいから要件を言えよ。殿下と違って俺らは暇じゃねえんだ。 ああ、そうかよ。宗次郎、そろそろ小休止だ。向こうで温まろうよ。
A very natural understanding.
お、なんだブレイクかよ。話せるじゃん殿下。ああ、てめえは除外に決まってんだろ。特権は功労者にのみ与えられるもんだ。焼却炉の前に来たけりゃそれ相応の貢ぎ物を持ってきやがれ。具体的に言うとリアカー1台分のゴミ袋な。ひっで生徒会応募。
His complaints naturally fell on deaf ears. Tomar had been selected to lead the cleaning operation, and his word was final. In order to continue to push his buttons, he knew he would be on cleaning duty tomorrow and the next day too.
さあ行くぞ。誰の趣味か知らねえがなぜか汁粉の缶が山ほどあってな。中華まんの一つでもあった方が気が
Emergency chocolate, let's go.
あれか遭難用のチョコレートみたいなもんか。
Enemy in the chocolate.
たくあいつの考えは未だにわかんねえな。
Pretty sure Tomar was saying he thought the food would do just fine for everyone.
なんだよ行かねえのか宗次郎。
ああ、自分はここに残るよ。ダンなら木の実の言うように葉を燃やせばいい。そこに池もある。火の始末なら一緒だ。
Oh, it's a fire hazard! This is clear for Konomi's benefit. Tomar referred his bro, but Konami shivered from the cold.
俺は今友情ってもんを実感している。真心って本当にあったんだ。さあ待ってろしずき、今赤羽たちから芋を奪ってくる。
We were trying to show his true feelings, so then we ran off to the neighboring group.
な、予想はしてたけどな。ほらよ。
Mario pulled out a hot can from his jersey pocket, scratching his head in exasperation. He pulled out 3 in all, 1 from each jersey pocket and 1 from his pants pocket.
さっさと焚き火の用意をしようぜ。俺もこっちで休むことにするわ。
I also love how, even though they were like, Tobimaru is just fucking off for a bit, and he's just like, the natural attraction to the Sojiro charm.
付き合いがいいのはお互い様だな。
Sojiro quickly prepared the leaves for the fire. They gather them up to burn neatly.
慣れてる
マッチがあるから楽なんだ。
Crouched down in front of the burning leaves and warmed his hands near the flame. Though he showed no signs of being cold underneath it all, Sojiro was cold too. Gazing in the fire as the smoke rose from a pile of leaves as if for good times from his past. Mario felt a touch of concern as he looked at Sojiro. Felt within him home affection. As he saw a dark shadow looming over him like a stranger in a foreign land without a
な。
home.
元気ねえな、宗次郎。
まあね、少し疲れてる。
悩み事なら相談に乗るぜ。気が向いたら話してくれ。
Full tab can of sweet red bean soup on his in the Sojiro was focused on the fire.
そういえばな、お前が学校休んでる時、青崎に殴られたぜ。なんでも俺は大ボラ吹きだそうだ。
すごいな。大抜擢じゃないか。
Congratulations! And then Sojiro replying coherently like this. Tomura chalked it up to cultural differences.
なあ、青崎とはどうなってんだ？テスト前は駅まで一緒に帰ってただろ？
So I said everyone that this was far from the case, he Tomura asked anyway.
ああ、今は一緒に住んでるよ。
Sojiro went with the truthful, blunt response.
ああ、そうか。一緒と来たか。
Ah, so. Tomura tried to laugh off Sojiro's salty casual confession, however.
一緒に住んでるぞ。
That's like, ah, yeah. Wait a minute, it's Sojiro saying this.
どうした飛び丸。火でも飛んだか？
飛んでねえし、それより怖え。おい、今の聞き捨てならねえたわごとは本当の話か？
Can't say that. Sojo protested Tobimaru's reply with silence.
その余裕マジか。女に興味なさそうな顔しててやることやってんじゃねえかてめえ。
Tobimaru had always felt that he and Sojo were an equal match strength-wise, but for some reason he could not shake the feeling that Sojo was now his superior in the brain department. Sojo cast a rare angry glare at Tobimaru's direction.
こっちこそ聞き捨てならない。なんだ、その女に興味はないってのは。
Okay, what do you mean? Sojo seemed genuinely angry and his voice was icy. It's a characteristic level of anger for Sojo was enough to get Tobimaru to back down.
いや、悪い。そんな雰囲気あったんだよ、お前さんは。それは謝る。けどよ、青崎と一緒に住んでるってどういうことだ？いくらなんでも一足飛びすぎだろ。
別に君が期待しているようなことはない。彼女が住んでいるところの部屋を借りることになっただけだ。屋根の裏にある部屋なんだけど、板張りで山小屋を思い出すんで気に入ってる。
Bro, I just live in her attic. What's the problem? It's just the attic. Well, I'm not bad an eyelid at hearing that Sojo now lived in an attic and continued his questioning.
屋敷ってあのクオンジの屋敷か？それこそまさかだぜ。宗十郎、お前一体どんな手品を使いやがった？
飛丸こそあの家を知ってるのか？
それはな、これでも築地家期待の跡取り候補だぜ。俺はクオンジグループのご令嬢が住んでる屋敷ぐらいは知ってるさ。霊園女学院の2年生だろ確か。
クオンジ何？
More confused than ever, so Tobimaru reluctantly and everything as simply as he could so Sojo could understand.
クオンジグループつうか財団だな。平たく言えば一族全部がお金持ちで仲良く会社を経営してる連中だと思えばいい。複合企業とまではいかないが輸出業じゃかなりのもんだ。
Almost there.
ホームグラウンドは国外で先代の会長の英国 B 機がたたって一時期は沈みかけてたんだが5年くらい前かね。会長が息子に移ってからはきちんと持ち直して今や町の名士だろ。ここでもクオンジの名前はそこかしこで目に入る。この学校の立て直し予算の半分は連中からだしな。
But the oversimplified explanation, Sojo still seemed not to be getting it. With that, Tobimaru decided to give up on trying to explain.
あれだ。想像もできない金持ちってこと。
You're rich.
ソノジが働いてる喫茶店だってクオンジが向こうから持ってきたブランドだぜ。今じゃ全国チェーンになっちまったがな。
つまりすごく偉いんだね。おかしいな。ならなんであんなに倹約してるんだろう。
Mumbling coherently to himself. Tobimaru looked at him with a complex expression on his face, somewhere between envy and heartfelt sympathy.
しかしうまいことやったな宗十郎。それで本当のところはどうなんだ？男と女が同じ屋根の下にいれば
I'm expecting Naoko to appear out of thin air and bonk the shit out of them.
案外古いな、飛丸も。
抜かせ。そのあたりをごまかしてたら男なんざやってらんねえ。
そりゃごもっとも。実を言うと正直な話。
Sojo and Naoko were living together. There was absolutely no chemistry between them. But that was not to say that living in such quarters as they did, unintended mishaps did not occur from time to time. Still,
驚くぐらいそういうことにはなってない。あの屋敷すごく広いし。
everyone's often busy with their own affairs, so there was no opportunity for that sort of thing to happen.
そもそもだな。もし飛丸だったら下宿先が同じってことだけで青崎に言い寄る気になるかい？
A very sane question.
いやならねえなそりゃ。
Tobimaru nodded intently as if he was thinking back over his many ex-relationships.
いや健全だな。
健全だろ。
Right? Sojo gave no more than a quick affirmation. Tobimaru's responded, murmuring, "Fine." Besides physical health, it was surely Sojo's personality that enabled him to maintain any semblance of peace. Both Alco and Alice while living in that mansion.
でもそれとは別の話で、青崎には頭が上がらないんだ。彼女にはもう返せない借りがあってさ。
Sojo's eyes turned slightly seriously, staring into the fire. I felt there was more to those words than what Sojo was letting on.
もう返せない借りだ。
I nodded in silence at Tobimaru's inquisitive acknowledgement. Then, a strange scream pierced through the still silence of the wood like a knife.
なんか聞こえたな。
ああ、木の実だ。
It was Konomi. The Dreadery stood up before he responded. Vaulted the frozen pond, broke the ice with his broom, scooped up some of the frigid water in a bucket, threw it on the fire, all in less than 10 seconds. Immediately ran off to the depths of the woods from where he heard the scream. Tobimaru followed after him in panic confusion.
飛び丸、この先に何かあるのか？
確か旧校舎が残ってるはずだ。
他には野犬の住処とかそういう嫌な話は？
Are there any dogs? Any demonic beasts? Anything like that?
はあ、いや、いるとしても鹿かウサギじゃねえか。
Any of those fucking electric birds from Ordeal Call 2? Got any of them in there?
なら怖がることもないか。急ごう、飛び丸。
Perhaps because of his time spent growing up in the mountains, Sojo quickly sprinted over the slippery dead. No one was particularly cautious himself, but nevertheless he could not keep up with Sojo in here. For a long, Sojo found himself in running alone. Foliage blocked the natural trail. He was sometimes cleared away by brute force, but often he would expertly weep. He was good as used to dealing with this level of nature. Minutes, Sojo arrived at a clearing. All trees had ended. Obviously man-made clearing here on the mountainside. This looked like an old school building. A small aesthetically pleasing building no larger than an found this.
木の実。
And we stood alone on those old school grounds.
なんでしずきまで追いかけてきたん？
Sojo's face could only in sudden confusion.
そっちこそどうしたんだ？変な声上げて。
声？いや、そりゃガキ相手に怒鳴ったけどよ。ほら、あのガキだよ。芋持ってるだろ。であ、中に逃げ込みやがった。
Don't point resentfully toward the old school building. Staying by the entrance to the building just over 300 distance.
たく、こんな上まで来やがって。いつから子供の遊び場になってんだ、ここ。
Yeah, it's our old haunts, the Abane Elementary School building. Yeah. Then we shrugged his shoulders to signal how little he cared what the young children did with their time. This place was deep in the woods, but it was not particularly dangerous. I had run through the wood to get here, but there was also a paved road leading to the spot from the outside the woods. On that road to get here.
ん？子供？
Sojo squinted.
ああ、金髪なんでさっきはちょっと驚いたけどな。外国人の子供ってなんか怖いだろ？
It'd be quite rare to see a foreigner in a provincial town such as Misaki. Seeing a foreigner in person, which made the whole thing even more mysterious.
それで、木の実はなんでここまで？
いや、赤羽たちがよ、ガキに食料奪われたって言うからここまで追いかけてきたんだ。そういうことだから、二人がかりであのお子様とっちめようぜ。
I don't know if you're gonna punk the shit out of this kid.
怖いことを考えるな、木の実は。
Could not find him to agree with the plan. We're in a team against a little kid.
いいから帰ろう。あの子こっちを睨んでるじゃないか。それに飛び丸にこんなところ見られたら、冬休み中ずっと山の掃除で終わることになるぞ。
Took him by the shoulders and began leaning back to the path he came from. He cast one last gaze at the old school building before reluctantly following. I appeared panting and out of breath.
早いな、宗十郎。
Holy shit. So could hardly catch his breath. Right about 3 minutes behind Sojo despite having a good set of legs on him. Oh god.
それでどうした？木の実、無事か？
は？無事も何も殿下こそどったん。
Alexis did when it was first ever display concern for him.
なんだそりゃ。てめえ、あれだけの大声を上げておいて、しらばっくれる気か？上で何かあったんだろうが。
すまない。こっちの早とちりだった。飛び丸は知らないだろうけど、木の実は時々バイト先でも規制を上げる癖があるんだ。
He just sounds like that randomly sometimes. It's a weird quirk. He looked disapprovingly as Sojo nonchalantly shared this insight. It's the first time he'd ever heard of it.
怪しいな。またよからぬことでも企んでるんじゃねえか、そこの。
ないよ。戻って掃除の続きをするぞ、飛び丸。
Sojo patted Tobimaru on his shoulder a couple times and started walking. Tobimaru cast a doubtful glare in his direction as he meandered off. He didn't feel like Sojo was covering for Kenobi somehow.
まさか、旧校舎に火なんてつけてないだろうな。
誰もしないよ、そんなことは。
Who would even do that? They kept walking, not even looked back at Tobimaru as he spoke. Kenobi tilted their heads in confusion as they reluctantly followed the unusually aggressive Sojo back to their clean. What was Sojo thinking? And so the special winter cleaning team's activities ended uneventfully. Time was 3 in the afternoon. Martin Kenobi is crew invited Sojo to come hang out with them, but he declined politely to do his job that evening. And about 2 hours until his shift began. Not quite enough time to do anything fun, just enough time to have to fill it. Sojo thought about relaxing in park somewhere, but quickly changed his mind to remembering how cold it was even in the city. Yet that Alco handed him those pills in the morning. Was absolutely correct in her prediction. Heading back to the mansion now would just be a waste of time. Return to the mansion until after his shift at work. So Sojo found himself on the way back anyway. Up deep in the mountains, a little 2-hour walk was really no sweat off his back. A little 2-hour walk. Little 2 hours. Casual 2-hour walk. Like it was in the more quiet residential areas in Misaki City. The thing that really stood out here was Shiro Inuzuka. Shiro Inuzuka. What the fuck did I say the first time? It led directly into the woods. On the surface, the backdrop of suburbia, suddenly overshadowing the small human actions. This modern day of technological progress, the people here were always careful to pay reverence to the mansion or shrine. It would not be a haunted house, but a famous tourist attraction.
というより、今更気づいたけど。
Shiro Inuzuka were all magnificent. Sojo understood as he looked at the bottom of this hill where the rest of the town mansion tucked away. He understood what Tobimaru was talking about how the Kuwanji family owned the mansion might be the richest.
その割に家賃を取るところを見ると、やっぱり嫌われていると見る。
And he just put two together. Wait, if they're rich, why do they need my rent? Sojo began walking towards the mansion with such thoughts simmering in his mind. Feeling with the hard asphalt beneath his feet instead of soft dirt, felt lonely. He walked along the paved road for about 10 minutes or so before reaching. Beyond this fence is the private property of the Kuwanji family. Awkward. The overbearing iron fence was nothing more than to remind visitors that they were actually pushed on the iron gate. Days had passed since the end of the final exams. He seemed more than comfortable with the idea of entering this woods alone. The path to the mansion from the inside of the wood curved and bent like a snake. About 15 minutes to reach the mansion on this path. He chose to ignore the long incline, travel in a straight line through the wood, but to expend significantly more energy doing so. Now using the wooded path was a sensible option. Okay, Sojo heard a conversation coming from the drawing room. Alco and Alice, Sojo decided to join them. While Sam's in it, Alco and Alice had switched from daily routine to a more regular schedule. Alco disappeared in Alice's room in the west wing of the mansion for a while, where she would remain. Go to Alco's room, not to be seen again. Or they would advance to the corridors leading around the rear of the mansion, doing who knows what, where Sojo was most certainly not allowed to enter. Not that he was interested in what they were doing, since Alco and Alice did not seem to want to either, serving both parties nicely. That being, the Kuwanji estate was pretty peaceful.
ただいま。
They quietly opened the door of the drawing room. They tried not to be involved in each other's business, so Joe made a habit to greet them. Joe sat across from him on the sofa. The table in front of them was a large, extravagantly decorated mirror. Comfort wearing jeans instead of her usual skirt. Stark contrast, Alice was dressed in her usual all black. Break from school was well underway, the witch still insisted on wearing black. I could explain it's probably because it was too much effort for Alice to wear anything else. Sarah's thought was that he'd like to see her wear something different. Alice seemed to be in the middle of some sort of dispute. The air in the drawing room was tense. Both ignored his greeting.
じゃあ東川の視点は？あそこの柱は白色だし、そう簡単には奪われないでしょ？
ええ。今のところ東川は侵食されていないけど、一つ隣の鈴穂の視点が消された以上、楽観はできないわ。
そっか。一個釣れれば、あとは芋づる式だもんね。反省したわ。甘く見てたのはこっちの方だった。ここからは1週間単位の攻防になるわね。
They continued their heated discussion from opposite sides of the table. Neglected to glance up at Sojiro. Sojiro says what she wanted to concentrate on the discussion at hand.
でも消せないな。あの夜に人形を出してくるタイミングといい、隠し方だけは一級品なうちの視点を短期間で特定することといい、こいつまず間違いなく市内にアジトを敷いてるわよね。なのになんで結界に異常がないんだろう。三崎市一帯の索敵網はもう100年近く破られたことがないのに。
Bit her nails nervously while Alice nodded along. In Misaki City, you say? What if they're just a little bit out there? Or there's some place that's just a little bit out of the dragnet? It seemed as though she was wondering the same thing.
母もここの結界には触れなかった。岬の結界をかいくぐるには、あなたのおじいさんか、それ以上の技量を持つ魔術師でないと難しい。けど、それほどの魔術師なら逆に気配は隠しきれない。何か特殊な音響法かもしれないわね。ここ数年、新しいサークルの話は聞かないけど。
何？シャーウッドの森？メイキングなら以前アリスの霧が粉砕したじゃない。あれ以上の音響があるっていうの？
例えばの話よ。今回の相手はこちら以上の技量を持っているか、こちらの知らない技術を持っているか。どちらにせよ評価を改めるべきね。私たち気づかないうちに追い詰められているのかも。
You fell silent. Sojiro, after some internal deliberation, decided to break the silence.
や、ただいま。
Hey, I'm home. Ako finally looked up to him in response to his assistant.
いいからお風呂に入ってきたら。汚れてるわよ、宗十郎。
With that, Ako returned gaze to the mirror. Alice briefly looked up at Sojiro again before also returning gaze to the mirror. Feeling at least somewhat satisfied that his greeting was acknowledged, Sojiro left the drawing room and closed the door. I got my welcome back. I was right, his clothes were a little
そう
soiled.
だな。もったいないけど確かに。
He returned to his room thinking that bath might actually feel nice in this cold weather despite it all during the day. Climbed the stairs from the foyer and up the second flight into the attic. The other rooms of the mansion had no frills to its decor. A little cumbersome to use as a living space, but comfortable enough for Sojiro. Also, the mansion was a little too gaudy for his taste. As far as sheltered in place to sleep when, Sojiro was more than satisfied with his accommodations. There was no electricity in the attic. The only light was that which crept in from a small skylight. Why did he use more color? Oh, the faint winter light to guide him, he ready to change of clothes and a towel before heading down to the besides the mansion, there was only one bath in the whole building. Really? And not a particularly large one at that. Whoever the architect was, he or she must not have thought the bath was to be important. Perhaps they were on the bathtub. Sojiro ascended to the foyer and made his way to the back of the stairs. Bath, like expected, there was only one side. The other two occupants of the mansion were still talking in the drawing room. The room was unoccupied, Sojiro quietly entered the bathroom. Though Sojiro was not aware of it himself, as was common for him, he had acquired since coming down from the mountain was taking a nice, relaxing. But luck, the two girls were still locked in their discussion. As to say, the topic of conversation was still that of the outsider mage who would appear in Misaki City this month. So after all, the problem that occupied their time before this whole situation with Sojiro arose, being with eliminating the interlopers who had set his or her sights on their territory.
今まではおとりにばっかり食いついてたから甘く見てたけど、それも計算づくだったのかしらね。こっちが油断してる隙に本命を一つ奪われた。この相手との戦いはこれからが本番ってことか。
The situation was growing more dire by the day. A couple of days ago, the enemy had limited themselves to small skirmishes, and they had shifted onto a full-on offensive. Akko had two major bound and fields she used for defense. The larger of the two placed her Misaki City, protect magical energy. She was used to observe and monitor visitors from outside the city, and was initially set by Aosaki's ancestors, the administrative territory, and had no way to remove. It was set to energize and manage ley lines from within the territory. 5 sigils carved into the earth made up of standard square types array, protecting all that lay within its bounds. Manipulation of mana flow, the power within was directed to kinetic quantity of state. As to say, the boundary field exists to monopolize the magical energy within Misaki City. She's not just a regular landlord, she's a magical landlord. There are 5 sigils in total, with the quantity of state located in the center. 5 sigils were forced to move without because jurisdiction over this territory would be entitled only. Without the power of land to back them up, they'd be forced to fight back against their invaders on equal ground with only their own innate abilities to protect them. Luis and Alco and the experienced Alice and the experienced Alco were able to defend the territory so far because of these fields. Striking at the notified Alasaki many threats was also her lifeline. But this time their enemy had somehow slipped through the cracks and was running rampant. Both had to face up to.
どちらにせよ時間の問題ね。視点がすべて潰されたら、いよいよここでの籠城になるけど。いいの、青子。
ん？別にいいんじゃないの？アリスの言う通り。残りの視点を消されるのは時間の問題なんだし。
Man, you gotta I wonder at this point if Sojiro is ever just gonna ever bring up the fact that the magic battles that he saw, or like his nightmares, was like he saw 2 magic battles instead of 1. The one between Alco and then the other mage. I wonder if he's ever gonna bring that up. I was like, yeah, no, I saw them.
そりゃ敵のアジトを発見できれば同じだけど。それは絶対必要ってわけでもないでしょ。視点を消されても私にはあんまり関係ないし。何より館の守りはあんたがいる限り万全だしね。あっちの方からやってきてくれるならそれこそ飛んで火にいるよ。他に心配事なんてないでしょ。
It's way too lax, Alco.
そうね。敵が一人だけなら、その時は鏡の範囲をここに集中させて戦場にすればいい。
With her pale finger. The surface of the mirror rippled like water. The mirror was not a protector of Misaki City, separate from Aosaki's bounded field. Accurate, was a ploy that existed only to protect House Kowanji rather than Misaki City itself. Generating thick fog and acted as an invitation to any visitors, drawing them into a board game-like world. Referred to it only as the mirror. It was owned to her friends as the mirror. Age-crafted House Kowanji wielded. The rippling surface of the mirror, an image of a castle began to form, and also a lush forest, a field, and a river. At the mirror in silence. Suddenly jumping to her feet off the sofa.
そうと決まればあとは行動あるのみね。出かけるわよアリス。とにかく現場を見ないことには始まらない。
Once the latter tired sigh in response to Alco's determination, then gave the mirror a gentle caress. Now dripping water filled the room. It began to consume the table in a thick fog with a single caress from Alice.
順番に回るのなら帰るのは朝になるわね。
まあまあ、そう億劫がらないで。ところでアリス、火の五芒星の退去ってこうだっけ？
Shaping the air with her fingers. Climbed a star-shaped sign from the top, moving down and to the right, and then to the upper left and so on.
そろそろ壊すこと以外も覚えないとダメよ、青子。
Alco, why do you want to learn the destruction part of magic? Can you, like, prepare something? Alice left from the sofa, letting out a heavy sigh. Edge. They both took their coats from their hangers and left the drawing room.
失礼ね。私だって日々成長してるわよ。この間のおまじないだってちゃんと成功したんだから。
I love that she's so proud of pulling off that charm for Sojo.
おまじない？
簡単な暗示の呪文。ほら、アリスが教えてくれた軽く弱く、うまく早く、チクタクチクタク、急げや急げってやつ。
それ、本当？
ほんともほんと。後で総重量に聞いてみなさい。
Alice swallowed her words completely. Decided herself in time to realize it's not worth the effort to issue with it.
けど、留守中、その彼はどうするの？
大丈夫でしょう。アリスの西館と開かずの間に入らなきゃ即死するようなことは。
I responded hastily as she opened the door to the foyer. Uh-oh. As soon as she did, just as quickly as Alice's thoughts had gone stuck in her throat, Alco suddenly froze, unable to speak.
ですって。
For a moment, Alco wasn't sure who was standing before her. My boy's ripped! She glanced stared at the glinting rays of sunlight creeping into the room as she reeled from the shock. Her mind was completely blank. It was as if she had just woken up from a nap or a jacket box had just opened in her face. Cedra was probably the only person who truly knew how long the dumbfounded silence went on.
あんた、こんなところで何してるのよ、一体。
Alco had finally found her voice.
何って着替えてるんだけど。
Cedra's response was matter of fact. He offered no explanation as to why he was changing the foyer, not the bathroom. Alco was too shocked to read him the riot act. Cedra was putting a shirt on after presumably just getting out from the bath. His neck was wrapped in bandages and he was completely shirtless. Cedra was wet, but his skin wasn't glistening from the steam of hot water. He washed himself with nothing more than cold water. Shocked as why anyone would do such a thing as cold weather, she let it slide. Cedra's silent stupor was simply his body. Now she'd only see him as harmless. Without his clothing to hide him, however, he was more fit than she'd ever imagined. Oh, he's so swole! Holy shit! For a rough mountain upbringing, where one's body and strength meant survival, perhaps he was even a bit underdeveloped. On top of that,
それ、傷跡なの？
Alco asked cautiously. Cedra followed her gaze. It looked like a burn scar on his arm. Random appearance, something like Alco's magic crest with its ordered patterns.
ああ、これか。ずいぶん前に野犬の群れに襲われて噛みつかれたんだ。命があっただけでも幸運だから、傷跡ぐらいはご愛嬌だ。
Our mountain boy! A long time ago, Hagi when he was a child. Though his life was saved, it is apparent that he hadn't been able to receive proper treatment in the mountains where he lived. It was proof. It had happened so many years ago, it was lucky they would. For an instant, Akko thought the wild scars left in his skin suited his lean body perfectly.
確かにあまり気持ちのいいものじゃないな。自分の部屋で着替えるべきだった。
Pedro sounded slightly ashamed as he put on his shirt, looking at Akko standing there in cold silence. The two girls had no response. He headed for the stairs to go back to his room.
ちょっと待って、宗十郎。
Stopped and turned around.
なんていうか。
Akko looked away awkwardly, apparently not knowing why she had stopped him herself.
なんか青崎らしくない。さっきから変だけど、熱でもあるんじゃないのか？あれから満足に寝てないだろう、二人とも。
Was referring to the final exams. Such a perspective, the amount of work Akko put in seemed strange.
熱なんてないったら。そうじゃなくて、どうしてこんなところで着替えてたのよ、あんたは。
Was doing her best to keep up appearances. But for some reason, Sojo was hesitant to say too much more.
それは、言いづらいんだが、下着の管理はきちんとした方がいいと思う。どっちだかは知らないけど。
It's like, you guys kept leaving your shit around. Alice, who had been completely silent about Alco, couldn't resist responding to that statement. Alice is just like, activated. I'm about to get up in her case. Although she hadn't wanted to get involved, this was something she couldn't ignore.
言っておくけど、それは青子だから。
Alice's response was quick and to the point.
洗濯の当番は確かに私だったけど。
I could see like she was just holding back and going critical.
とにかく、もうすぐアルバイトだから着替えてくる。
I think that those two were probably about to get into an argument, Sojo took his chance to leave. After that, Sojo briskly left the scene.
アリス。
とりあえず、片付けてくるわ。
Alice calmly walked into the bathroom. A few minutes later, as the two were about to head out and fulfill their duties as mages, Akko remembered something she wanted to ask.
そうだ、アリス。傷ってあれのこと？
あれは傷跡じゃないわ。だって、あんなにも誇らしいもの。
Agreed. What impressed him the most about the scars is how he treated them as simply as part of his past, of absent regret. Akko would have gone so far as to say he was proud, but it seemed like her instincts had been correct. That and one more thing.
でも一つだけはっきりしたわ。
Oh no.
それじゃあ、不覚にも見惚れてたのは私一人じゃなかったってことよね、アリス。
Akko smiled wildly at Alice, like a child who knew they were doing something they shouldn't with their friend. Alice was trying to ignore her best as she could. She looked away without saying a word. She let a satisfied snicker and began walking toward the front door.
じゃ、行こうか。まずはあの公園からでいいでしょ。今回の件は、あそこから全てが始まったわけだし。
Talking about the local park in Misaki. The place where they run into the enemy puppets and of course where their involvement with Sojo had all began. Despite all the magic and everything, they're still high school students. Early next morning. 5 o'clock in the morning. Thanks for sticking around, Yankee. 5 o'clock in the morning, most people were still in their beds sleeping. Some 24-hour convenience. Here, Misaki Town is still very much living in the good old days of the early. Sally Burb. Filled. Even the tofu shop in the shopping district, known for opening earlier than anyone else, didn't open until 6. Late 80s, during the latter half of Japan's bubble economy. High metropolitan areas never slept. The countryside, however, remained in the past. The homes were blanketed in silence, the streets were empty of commuters, and not a single automobile could be barely peeking over the horizon. The town would still be asleep for at least an hour longer before it began waking up. During this time, someone stepped into Hey. Roger was working the late shift during the winter vacation and had just come home. Quietly through the drawing room, so he wouldn't wake up Alco and Alice, who were presumably still asleep. Sanji stated a few established rules. Those rules forbade more Japanese tea. This rule had only come into effect 3 days prior. This was proposed after Alice saw Sojo drinking green tea in the kitchen after dinner one night.
Oh?
Background decision had been made rather abruptly. That single gasp of surprise was all Alice said. She gasped her head as she was battling the most vicious of migraines, called for Alco, and then made the decision to ban all Japanese teas from this mansion. By some miracle, Alco managed to negotiate and keep Sojo's privileges to barley tea during the summer. What the fuck, Alice? They had a man's tea like that?
だいたいイギリス産だって初めはグリーンティーが主流だったじゃない。
Alice had clearly hit a nerve with this Alco had clearly hit a nerve with this argument. Alco stared at Alice for a certain why she was so taken aback by Sojo's actions.
そこまで嫌がらなくてもな。お茶は何だって美味しいのに。
Joe grumbled to himself while sipping his hot green tea. He didn't realize that Alice was upset because he had poured his green tea into a teacup meant for black tea. In Sojo's defense, this was the only teacup that Alice had given him permission to use. At any rate, the early morning was his to enjoy. This was a moment to relax the Japanese tea, so he smuggled in. My little rebellion. He didn't use this time to read books or watch TV, he just drank his tea and gazed fondly at the garden, rather the dense woods out. Sojo simply sat, relaxed, and let his mind wander. An hour passed. Beginning to feel refreshed, he heard sounds coming from the way. He knew it was Aqua and Alice talking, so he rushed to hide his teacup, cotton tea leaf. Hide the contraband was easy enough, considering just how many unused shells there were in the kitchen. Sojo was perturbed by how they wasted the potential of such a splendid kitchen.
あら、早いのね、宗十郎。
Contraband. Aqua spoke as she took off her white down jacket. Alice suddenly took off her black.
いや、今帰ってきたんだ。天城浜の食品工場に深夜のパートで入ることになった。
Sojo has 15 million part-time jobs. Joe stuck his head out from the kitchen just as he was about to put on some oil. Alice lifted her head slightly at him. Unless she thought his gesturing was funny or anything like that.
天城浜から
Alice glanced up at the clock in the drawing room and her expression darkened.
どうしたのアリス。
Alco asked us from her comfortable seat on the sofa.
別に
It's neat. Alice responded differently before finally sitting down as well.
宗十郎、砂糖は一杯だけだからね。
Alco yelled her matter of course request from the kitchen. Sojo didn't respond but was in affirmative silence. It was two entire nights worth of cramming that Alice knew nothing about.
アリスは？
私はミルクだけでいいけど
On and out of obligation.
了解、ミルクティーだね。
For some reason Sojo dutifully Alice's request.
ま、いいけど、いちいち突っ込んでたらキリがないし。それより珍しいじゃない。アリスがティーバッグのお茶飲むなんて。
今日は疲れたからたまには
Alice has an idea. She allowed herself to accept another's kindness for today.
ま、いいか。それより宗十郎。あんた、さっきお菓子のこと言わなかった？
え？別に言ってないぞ、そんなこと。
そうならいいんだけど。
Pressing over a distance of 4 yards. Alice decided to add her opinion to the conversation.
しずきくんがおかしなことを言わない日はないと思うわ私
Quiet tones luckily just low enough so Sojo couldn't hear.
そりゃそうだけど、今ちょっと変だったでしょ？いや、何が引っかかったのかまではわからないんだけどさ。
そうね会話自体は普通だったけれど内容を考えてみると
No,
どこかお
don't.
かしいわね
No, no, the blind detective. Aka became gradually more irritated as she failed to grasp what had been odd about the conversation. Then Sojo appealed to holding a tray with a teacup for each of them.
何を話してるんだ？単に新しいアルバイトを始めただけだろ。
Put the cups down on the black table without even making even the sound. Alice couldn't complain about how proper his job as a waiter had made him. Saying out loud, she did nod in his direction to show gratitude. Alco, however,
天城浜だっけ？あそこってスタジアムがあるところでしょ？ツアーの会場になるから時々行くけど。
student council president and supposed model student loved rock band. Alco was secretly obsessed with the number of bands and used to travel way out of town just to see him perform live when she was in middle school. Of course, this is a world Sojo was far from familiar with.
それよりまた新しいバイト始めたんだ。そんなに働いてどうする気なのよ、宗十郎は。
Paying off rent.
ああ、よく聞いてくれたね。本人の名誉のために名前は伏せるけど、誰かさんと誰かさんが俺の少ない収入を無慈悲に奪っていくから働く先を増やしたんだ。
This was as much as the Sojo was able to give. Alco lifted her teacup to her mouth and she was completely oblivious to Sojo's monologue.
それは大変ね。
Yeah, that sounds rough. Alco said this as she set her teacup down quietly. There was something she just did not understand. Alco had to hold back her laughter as she looked at Alice and Sojiro.
言った自分が未熟だった。
Sojiro's shoulders fell as he said this. Took a sip of his black tea, so unsure about the taste.
まあ、アルバイトが多いって分かってくれるだけでいいか。そういったわけだから、冬休み中は夜も留守にする。例の薬はアルバイト先で飲むしかないんだけど。
ああ、それなら心配いらないわ。もうあれはやめたから。いちいち作るのも面倒だし、もっとしずきくんに似合うのを見つけてきたの。
Uh-oh. 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 That's not a good smile. Oh, got a huge ominous grin on her face. Put her in her jacket pocket and pulled out a little paper bag. It was a small circular object about 20 inches in diameter, racked up neatly like a present.
はい、これは入居祝い。これからはそれをつけておくのよ、宗十郎。
Vegeta. I go over the paper bag. Inside was a white belt. The belt for putting around your waist to keep your pants up. But as clearly as possible, it was a collar.
青子。
Alice just going, okay, what the f-? Alice's expression darkened at this turn of events. It wasn't clear whether it was her friend's insidiousness or sympathy for Sojiro that concerned her.
どう？気に入った？
Akko was clearly a little crazy. Oh no. Akko, what the fuck? At least she wasn't totally serious. As always, it was at least half a prank to see how Sojiro would react. But Sojiro was solemnly considered the collar he'd just been gifted.
意味はつかみかねるけど、こういうものを人からもらうのはこれが初めてだ。
He actually sounded like this would be a happy memory for him. Alice narrowed her eyes of emotion inspiring.
けど、これは何に使うんだ？
簡単よ。金庫寺と同じで、飼い犬が主人に逆らうと首を絞めるの。あっちは頭につけてたけど、それよりは首のがマシでしょ？
Sojiro grimaced when he finally understood Akko's meaning for a gift. He realized to ask her what kind of person comes up with such an idea.
つまり、秘密をばらしたり逆らったりしたら首が締まると。やっぱり熱でもあるんじゃないのか、青崎は。
あら、首輪は嫌？せっかく宗十郎に似合いそうなものを見つけたのに。
Oh my god, Akko, you bitch. Akko said an evil grin on her face. Sojiro's surprising response to his gift that Akko had clearly gone as a prank.
それもそうか。毎日毒を飲むよりはマシだし、このベルト自体いいものだし。うん、気に入った。 ありがとう、青崎。
He spoke 100% truthfully. Aoko's face contorted in disbelief, and she could only mumble if he was serious.
人の行為はどんなものだって嬉しいよ。それに、それが青崎ならなおさらだ。
And with that, Sojo put the belt around his neck. Placed it where the bandage is already
こ
there.
んな感じかな。きついけど、そのうち慣れるだろう。
Despite his words to the contrary, Sojo tugged at the belt uncomfortably and adjusted it. It was such a perverse scene that even Aoko's face was red as a beet, even though this had all been our idea. Perhaps because he gave her such a clear reminder of the scar she had seen the day before.
よし。止め方はこれでいいのか。
I love these morons. I love them so much. Aoko trying her best to be mean, backfiring spectacularly because Sojo is such a good boy. He's like, he took the gift at face value. And Alice in the background just being like, what the fuck? But also just like, I'm just gonna let this play out. Aoko retreated guiltily as Sojo came closer for her to check the fit of his new collar.
黙ってちゃわからないのに。いいよ、アリスに聞くから。
Sojo shifted his gaze from Aoko to Alice. Alice stared intently at Sojo wearing his new collar and said,
ロックね。青子、趣味に走りすぎよ。
Rockune. She could not have put it any more bluntly.
いや、やかましい、そんなんじゃない。もういい。とにかくそういうことよ。これからはその首輪が薬の代わりよ。せいぜい秘密を守ることね。
So goddamn adorable. Aoko was oddly apathetic as she spoke before stomping off toward the hallway.
それと、これからお昼まで仮眠を取るけど、くだらないことで起こしたら殺すから。
Aoko slammed the door behind her as she left the drawing room. Sojo stared in amazement.
なんで青崎はいつもいきなり怒るんだろ
This makes sense of why the collars were the ascension material in the Mihoyo event now. Now I'm just like, okay, now I get it.
しずきくんには悪意が通じないからでしょう。気にする必要はないわ。
う。悪意って今のが？
Alice looked up at Sojo's innocent response. There's a glimmer in her eyes that shows surprise at her current actions.
なんでもないから気にしないで。
At Terra's reply, she returned her usual expressionless self. There's no use explaining Ako's feelings. Ako bought that collar for the sole purpose of annoying Sojo and causing mischief. Things it turned out how she planned, her conscience got the better of her. Sojo mistakenly thought that Ako was angry at him, when in reality she was only angry at herself. Alice didn't bother telling Sojo all these heartwarming details, though. Not because it's too much work, just because she was never one to have meaningless conversation. This is how she had been raised.
しずきくんはこれからどうするの？
Suddenly changed the topic. Sojo thought for a while before replying.
夕方までゆっくりするよ。ここのところ忙しすぎた。せっかくだからテレビも見ていたいし、お昼には青崎を起こさないといけないだろ。
そう。なら静かにしていて。
Just let a gentle sigh and rose to her feet. Quiet. I understand exactly what she meant by those words in just a few minutes. Uh-oh. Sunshine through the window was bright. About 9 o'clock, about time for the morning television program. Sojo was sitting on the sofa, staring at the window at the scene outside. Neighboring sunroom showed a courtyard in a state of disrepair. Sojo could appreciate the outdoors in both its natural and mild state and maintained by human hands.
近いうちに何とかせねばなるまい。
Self turning another page in his textbook. before him was a mathematics textbook and a notebook with Alka's name on it. At first glance, he appeared to be a diligent student studying on his day off. He was only doing so as a compromise. He had given up on his main intent of watching this morning TV. His why he gave up was simple. He didn't consider Alice, who sat in front of them with her nose buried in the book. Brought her old dusty books. What she meant when she had said to keep difficult.
とりあえずしばらくテレビは控えよ
My telenovelas. That decided, Sojo resigned himself to reviewing some of the practice problems he'd gotten wrong. In the drawing room, for some reason. Purpose to doing it here, but he also had no real reason to study back up in his. So there he was, leisurely highlighting his textbook with Alice there in the same room. Sojo, there really was no difference between his room in the attic and the drawing room with Alice. The fairy could probably live with the tiger as long as it didn't cause anyone trouble. That was both Sojo's biggest strength and his biggest weakness. Before he knew it, the clock was showing 11. Spent 2 hours doing his math problems, wasn't even halfway finished. More than that, he was disappointed in himself for lacking the courage to speak up at all.
それに比べて青崎は頑張ってる
Dropped his mechanical pencil in the notebook and watched it roll away. Neither Alco and Alice were busy with something since final exams had ended. Just knew she had hardly gotten any sleep recently. To be able to ignore him during exams, she probably would have had an easier time. Today's nap was probably the first proper sleep Alco had gotten in days. Though she showed no signs of exhaustion despite the fact she must have hit peak long ago. She always seemed raring to go. It wasn't that she was trying to act tough. The kind of person she was. Always positive, always tough as nails. It was exactly why she came up as completely rational at the time. If that was the case, you could probably describe Allison exactly the same. It would help her feel a bit inadequate when you saw her single-mindedly focus and so preoccupied with just life that he neglected to think about what he was going to do with himself after. Thinking about this cast a gloomy cloud over his heart. Never find a clearer purpose in life like Alco and Alice seem to have. Not since he'd left the mountains. All life is gone now. Kite cut from his string, destined to fly only winds took it. Without anything to ground him, he couldn't do anything about the empty future that lay ahead. He could himself fly where the currents took him, slowly losing sight of the ground below.
そうだな便利なものは溢れているけど本当に望むものは
Kind of full of options, but he couldn't find nothing. Still the same questions time and time again. Remain and feel any better. If anything, it only feel worse and worse. That or ineptitude will lead to finding some kind of goal or desire someday. Cut his own sniveling, Sojo dejectedly. When he looked up, he saw his own face reflected back at him, and flowers there around his neck, looking out of place. Like him, who felt weak when strength did not need to wear, didn't need to wear a collar after all.
まったくだ悩むのは一丁前になってから
Worrying's head empty. Worrying is bullshit. Worrying is for chums. His thoughts of doom and gloom sat up straight. After psyching himself a little, he stood up from his stomach.
よし何か作るけどアリスは
Asked casually. Sojo had been doing his own thing. He had remained mindful of Alice. Up, surprised at hearing her name. He'd forgotten Sojo was even there.
私
ああアリス朝から紅茶しか飲んでないだろどうせ作るならいっぱい作った方がお得なんだ
Left Sojo. Waiting for a reply, Sojo headed up to the kitchen when putting on his apron. I tried to wave at him to stop, but by then he'd already disappeared into the kitchen. She was hesitant to walk all the way in there just to tell him she didn't need anything. Besides, she was actually hungry. The proposal made sense and her empty stomach agreed. Alice was hungry and Sojo was going to make lunch. I'm sure both of them would save the time and trouble of cooking 2 separate meals. There's no logical reason for Alice to refuse this gesture. He decided to stay quiet and tacitly accept his offer.
変な人。
Whispered the words softly, not for anyone in particular to hear but herself. Truth was, however, Alice had been in a bad mood all morning. After checking all the sigil around Misaki City and boarding the first train back from Kawa, all she wanted to do was spread the rest of her day reading, or just turn to a jumble. Her resolve to complete the task would not be interrupted by anyone else milling about in the drawing room. As her mansion, there was no way she was going to lock herself in a room on account of Sojiro. However, that said, she knew it would be wrong to kick Sojiro out for no reason. Instead, Sojiro had actually kept quiet like she had asked. Because in the wrong here, Alice said really wanted to be alone, she should have just gone to her room.
静かにしてじゃなくて一人にさせてというべきだった
As defiantly stayed in the drawing room despite realizing the dilemma she put herself in. She figured Sojiro would eventually make a ruckus and run off to hide in his attic room. Her assumption could not have been any more wrong. Sojiro never left the drawing room. However, she had actually stopped caring that he was there. Though he hadn't paid her any attention, he hadn't ignored her either. They sat in silence together without any awkwardness. I felt the freedom being alone, along with the comfort of someone being by her side. Sojiro was just that kind of person. For the only reason Alice had been able to sleep so soundly with him there next to her. In cooking in the kitchen, oblivious to the thoughts that went through Alice's head. She could see him from that drawing room, but she could easily imagine him cooking in the kitchen.
変な人ねどう
Alice resumed reading after unwillingly stating her feelings out loud a second time. Sunlight beaming into the drawing room showed that it was noon. Sunlight looked warm, in spite of being a cloudy winter day. Just as noon struck, Sojiro returned to the drawing room with 2 sips. Some food of an indescribable color was placed on large cream-colored plates.
これ
Sojiro, what did you do? Sojiro? What? What? Huh? She hadn't expected much. If she also hadn't requested anything, she could have just refused it if it was something she didn't want. But this food left her at a loss for words despite psyching herself up.
これは
She's hiding behind the book! Fear. Alice spoke as though she was terrified of what had been placed before her.
何って焼きうどんに何かかけてみた。
If Alco had been there, she probably would have punched him. Oh, she's rotating. Starter just confidently placed the 2 large plates on the table. He bellowed for the mountain of food like an angry volcano ready to erupt at any moment. The thick mystery sauce flowered over the plates as magma might from said eruption. The worst part about this is it's probably good, but also, what are you feeding them? This is food, it is edible. Probably tastes good. Who's for whose palate? For whose plowed Sono-G? And below it was seemingly infinite number of slimy tentacle-like noodles. There was really nothing more to say about it. This is clearly the food of a poor, struggling student who favored quantity over quality. Although what was required was a basic recipe, the will to cook something, and when few ingredients were needed. The pile of stir-fried noodles with sauce slathered on top was so horrifically bad, it was almost an art form. This was The Bachelor's cooking if she'd ever seen it. There was really nothing else you could call it. Oh my god. Oh. Alright, chat, would you be able to devour a plate of Sono-G's home cooking? Oh, Sono-G's bachelor cooking. Yeah, wondered what he was doing for an hour. And it turned out he had been making the sauce. No sauce would have been fine, but Sojiro had wholeheartedly gone the extra mile. Sojiro bowed his head slightly and picked up his chopsticks. He brought a fork for Alice. Oh, what kind? It's like an amateur learning trying to skin like an animal. Just like, where do you start? How do you approach this? Picked up the fork and stuck it into the noodles, stopped drowning in sauce. Sojiro began eating, not seeming to care that Alice sat there looking like she was about to eat poison. Gets up and slider, or just smoke billowing. If this is a challenge, Alice furrowed her brow and slowly brought the massive noodles to her mouth. It was a little salty and ugly to look at, but it tastes all that bad. I think it was actually pretty good.
一つ聞きたいんだけど、
Put down his chopstick and turned to Alice.
実際の話、魔術師の話はともかくとして、青崎はまだ誰にも手を出してないんじゃないか。
Alice looked up quietly at the sudden question. She'd been inspecting Sojiro's meal, but she frowning in that. Looked up straight at him.
おかしなことを聞くのね、しずきくんは。
アリスには悪いけど、これは青崎本人には聞きようのないことだから、言いたくなければ答えないでくれ。
Alice didn't respond. Sojiro resumed eating, not seeming disappointed. Alice stared blankly at him, slurping his noodles. To much hesitation, she replied.
しずきくんの言う通り、青子はまだ人を殺したことはないわ。その行為自体は何回かこなしてはいるけれど。
Response was slow and measured. She looked troubled. Not the conversation they were having. They looked apologetic towards Alice. Said she didn't have to answer if she didn't want to. But Alice kept talking despite the face.
しずきくんが見た公園での出来事が青子にとって初めての殺人行為よ。あいにく相手は人形だったけど。
Stanley nodded. Alice narrowed her eyes at him suspiciously.
まるで初めから分かっていた素振りね。
そうじゃな。いや、そうなのかな。
Vibe said he got from her.
たまにその手のセリフを言うけど、何か違う気がしたんだ。だから多分、青崎はまだ人殺しというのを体験していないんじゃないかって。でもまあ、そんなことよりもっと確かなのは、
You, Sono-G.
しずきくんが今生きているということね。
Sojiro chuckled at Alice's style. Exactly. Seems to have been more clear-cut that night if Falco had actually killed someone before. Sojiro had been dead before he even saw her face. For better or worse, Falco remained inexperienced in spite of her ruthlessness and decisiveness. Sojiro relaxed his shoulder. Gradually returned to its normal carefree state. Then,
でもそんなことは関係ないわ。あの子はそのあたりが異常だから。行為は理性に、経験は知識でたやすく補ってしまう。そうね。
measured mage,
青
even
子は
if she
そ
had
の気になれば迷うことなく人の命に手を出せる。
With that, Alice went back to twirling noodles around her fork. Looks like she's having fun, Sojiro thought as he ruminated over what she just said. Rational enough to accept herself despite acting against society's moral. And possessed of an intellect that exceeded even the confidence gained through experience. Had Akko been raised to utilize her logic and reason to forego reality fiction? If that was the case, then perhaps they really were different from Sojiro.
こ こんなことを聞いたのは青崎には内緒にしておいてくれないか。
It seemed serious, as if you really regretted asking. Alice's expression remained unchanged, but she had never intended on saying anything to Alco anyway.
ありがとう。なんだかアリスには内緒話ばかり溜まっていくね。
Back to eating his food. Alice had still only had a single bite. He was already scraping his clean.
そういえば青崎にも聞いたんだけど、アリスと青崎はいつもああなのか。
But suddenly decided to change the topic of conversation. The topic was the rather cool and dry relationship between Alco and Alice. Alco said the relationship was normal, but maybe Alice had a different opinion.
会話が少ないことを言っているのならそうなるわ。けど別に不便じゃないから。
Alice was still twirling noodles with her fork as she gave her concise answer. Around and around the noodles went, but none came into her mouth.
不便じゃないって、そういうの仲がいいって言わないんじゃないのか。
私と青子の仲が良くないとしずきくんは困るの？
He swallowed his words as Alice replied. He would actually, but he was sure to respond when asked so directly.
いや、なんかこっちの考え方が悪かったみたいだ。もうその話題には触れないことにしたから忘れてくれ。それよりアリス。
Cedric gave Alice a piercing stare that was more intense than any time they talked before. Taken slightly back at the unusually intense look in his eyes. Her face became slightly flushed out of nervousness. Besides, Alcutter stared at her like this before. More than he noticed, Sojo waited a few moments before speaking slowly with complete conviction.
それ食べないなら欲しいんだけど。
The most serious question. Hey, if you're not gonna eat that, can I have it? I'm gonna finish that. Hey, if you're feeling not hungry, I can. I love him so much. With as much gusto, with as much sincerity in his heart, the straightforward intensity needed to stare down a god. Hey, can I finish your food? An awkward silence followed.
悪いけどこれ私のだから。
Yeah, Cook did sure, but Alice wasn't wrong. He made it for her after all. A slight tinge of anger in her voice, but even she wasn't sure why it was there.
そうだね。少し意地汚かった。
Cedric plopped himself down on the sofa. This looked particularly pathetic to Alice as she responded with,
その材料はもう残ってないの？
Look covered her mouth. Apparently she was surprised even herself. It's quite unusual for her to ask something like that.
残ってないよ。青崎の分も作っちゃったから。
Carefully at Alice's plate as he responded. Alice could have just let it go, but for some reason she felt the need to speak up again.
青子なら眠っているけど。
What's food? Just do it.
いや、もうすぐ起こすから。起きた後で作らされるより一緒に作っておいて。
Oh, you're gonna get punched, so true.
と、もうすぐ1時か。ちょうどいい。行って起こしてくるよ。
青子は起こしたら殺すって言ってたけど。
I wasn't sure why Sojo was willing to take such a risk. I agreed, but started walking anyway.
でもさ、今起こしておかないと、やっぱり後で殺される運命になると思うんだ。
If I don't wake her up now, she's gonna kill me anyway. His order was surprisingly affectionate. Alice is lying down, Sojo headed to Alco's room. Watched him leave in silence before taking another bite of the stir-fried noodles. Hallway to make sure nobody was coming, she took another bite. So adorable. Through the process of 8 times before finishing her food, and then she heard Alco's wrath coming from the second floor. Alice stood up again, solemnly cleaning the table, feeling a bit sorry for what Sojo was dealing with. She didn't really have to, but she felt like it was the least she could do for him. I expected to feel this way. Cooked for her, and it was surprisingly good. Make her forget how bad he was at making tea. Almost. Almost enough. A grudge that will never set. Hard scarf. New book added to the archives. Oh my god. Okay, so we got... That looks fucking fat. Whiteboard. Staring at you from... And the Carnegie case. 0.5. Okay. Alright, let's read Whiteboard. That run schedule leaves both the process and results on Cookie Julie. Mari desu. So small.
体育館倉庫の鍵、職員室に返してきました。
In the key to the gym storage to the faculty room. Miyako's present in the second student council room when Kojika Kumari entered.
お疲れ。もうちょっとでバイト終わるから、そこ座ってて。
Miyako seated at a long table surrounded by a pile of textbooks and used her pen to write rapidly. Around the table were not school-specific notebooks, but rather papers for writing reports.
何してんの、青崎。課題？それとも補習？どっちにしても真面目なこと。冬休み始まったばかりなのに。そりゃあこんなところで特別清掃なんかに付き合わされているけどさ。これは別件。知り合いの大学生から流してもらった代筆のバイト。
The fuck?
何年も前に提出されたレポートを丸写しにして卒論クリアしようって話。写本ならぬ写レポートかよ。結構な量だな、おい。それどこの大学生？まさかみぞら大じゃないでしょうね。
We couldn't seem to hide her discomfort as she started thumbing through some reports next to Alco. The slate brown tinged reports had to be at least 10 years old.
そのまさかよ。知り合いの大学生なんてみぞら以外にいるかっていうの。安心なさい。熊の兄貴たちからの仕事じゃないから。そもそもあんたの兄貴軍団、今年も残る気満々なんでしょ？熊言わないで軍団もやめろ。
Voice was snappy. Not that Alco could judge, but this girl's unfriendliness could rival even her own at times. Marty's speech was dry enough as it was, but when she got riled up about something, she really let it all out. When she got it from her father. She tried to work on it, but it was hard to fix an old habit she had to tell.
けどこれどうなのよ。丸写しにしても古すぎて通らないんじゃない？そこはそれ腐ってもタイというか。技術的に古い部分はピックアップしてあるからテキスト参考にして数字だけ変えておいてだってさ。何それ、本当にバカじゃないの。そこまで分かってるなら自分でやればいいのに。今日の朝から半日の稼ぎにしちゃ悪くないわよ。レポート1冊分で1万円。
Good amount of cash.
生徒会長が内職かよ。道理で築地に監督を任せたわけだ。
And we're still charging Sono-G rent.
はい、他言は無用でお願いします。
Mari relaxed a bit as Alco's pleasant response, and decided to sit down in the nearest chair. The room was silent save for the sound of the scratching of Alco's ballpoint pen. The sky was clear blue, and there were boys in the rear courtyard playing baseball in their jerseys. With the special winter cleaning finished, it seemed they decided to start enjoying their free time.
寒いのによくもまあ。ってあれ2年の男どもだ。
The boys were playing in teams of 5 since apparently could not get enough people to play together a proper game. It was a boring game, mostly strikeouts and board hits, but they sure seemed to be having fun. Their yelling and hollering mostly consisted of bad words, surprise yells, and cackling.
あれ？ケとしずきが一緒なのはわかるけど、築地も一緒じゃん。青崎、あいつら仲いいの？はあ？なんでよ よそのクラスの集まりに顔出してんのよあいつ。まあ裏山の清掃が終わってるなら文句はないけど。お、投げた。築地ピッチャーできるんだ。基本あいつは何でもできるからね。
Good.
本人サボり症でめったに動かないけど、本気出せば何だってこなすのよ。唯一足りない才能があるとしたら子供らしさってやつでしょうね。詳しいじゃない。青崎、築地と付き合ってるって本当？あいつと付き合うぐらいならあんたと付き合うわ。
I forget, in the FGO Mihoyo event, was Kumari ever referenced? Yeah, she's brought up. No, a couple names were. I just don't remember how many of the side characters were brought up for, like, little mentions or stuff.
顔のいい男は好きじゃないし、やっぱり男はシュワちゃんぐらいじゃないと。
Yeah, macho man. I eat a beef.
シュワ、誰それ？グレートの方のコナンの主役やった人。
Coden?
へえ、顎割れてないとダメなんだ。青崎って面食いかと思ってたけど、ごっつい系が趣味なの？別にそういうわけじゃないけど。教訓よ、教訓。なよっとしたやつとか、やけに口がうまいやつとか、気軽な男はほんと信用ならないっていうか。
In the conversation, during the report pages, the other gazing at the school. They met in high school and soon grew to be friends who enjoyed chatting
青
together.
崎、冬休みはどうする？予定ある？一回ぐらいは遊びに行きたいんだけど、超忙しくて。年明けに時間作るからそれまで待って。あ、B 組の山瀬さんたち誘う？確か去年も冬休みに上京してたでしょ、彼女ら。ああ、ありゃ私たちと系統が違う生粋のお嬢様だからね。青崎の趣味知ったらドン引きされるからやめといた方がいい。お、撃たれた。おお、柵越えた。あれってホームランってやつだ。やるじゃん、しずき。築地から一本取るの。
Sono-G.
運動神経抜群ね。そりゃ山育ちだし、それぐらい取り柄がないと。来年の身体測定、飛び丸とトップ争うんじゃない？山じゃ2時間歩きっぱなしとかザラだったそうだし。水泳部じゃなく陸上部に紹介すればよかった。詳しいのね。もしかして付き合ってるのあっちとか？あ、いや、さすがにないか。
As the side of Aka's ballpoint pen moving across paper suddenly stopped. Stood up naturally from her seat, took a quick break to pour some fresh tea. He returned to her work without acknowledging what had been said.
冬休みの予定だけど、くまり、何かリクエストある？別に。見たい映画が溜まってるだけ。こっちじゃ上映しない映画をはしごしたい。青崎は？私は新しい冬物と CD 買えればいいかな。あ、その前にまずは CD プレイヤーか。そろそろ
$300! Jesus fucking Christ!
はあ、新しいもの好きよね、あんた。CD なんて高いだけで騒がれてるのは。
Jokes to you, Kamari. They're making a resurgence in 2026. Let's
だい
go.
たい音楽なんてレンタルしてカセットテープに落とせば500円で済むじゃない。ベータデッキみたいにそのうち廃れるって。
Oh, you can tell this is written by somebody who lived through this fucking age.
そう？
Technology.
CD は定番になると思うけどな。過去になるのはカセットテープ
Who
の
the
方よ。
fuck brings up Betamax?
それはない。絶対ない。かけてもいい。だって CD って録音できないんでしょ？そんなのにカセットテープが負けるはずない。クマは保守派だからな。政権交代は何にだってあるでしょうに。でもまあ、その賭け乗った。生徒会の歴史に書いておくからね。10年、いえ、5年後を楽しみにしていましょう。5年後か。いいね。ちょうど大学の終わりだ。青崎、東京の大学に行くんでしょ？どこ志望してるのか教えてよ。実はまだ決めてないのよ。上京したいのは山々なんだけど。 ありゃ意外。あんたのことだから向こう3年分ぐらいスケジュール組んでると思ったのに。
I call off dryly at the obvious jab. She knew what direction she wanted her life to go in, but she didn't usually think too much about the details. When she made a decision, she followed through with it. That's why she didn't actually write a schedule.
クマ、終わったら駅前のラーメン屋付き合ってよ。体力使ったからなんかお腹減ってきた。そこは頭使ったから甘いもの食べたくなったにしといた方が女らしいと思うけどね。いいよ、うちでいいならサービスしとくけど、寄ってく？もちろん、持つべきものは女の友情。
Girls wait patiently for winter vacation to start in the student council room. Free time after school was spent through this kind of frivolous conversation. There were nights as a major, days as a normal high school student. Conversations she had with her friends were different. She enjoyed both aspects of her life equally, and if one of those involved fighting against moral enemies.
ところで青崎、さっきの掛け金はどうする？そうね、私も鬼じゃないし、その時の貯金1割で手を打つわ。
Alco, what the
根こそぎ
fuck?
奪うのは勘弁してあげる。
She wasn't lying. But fundamentally, she was still an imp at heart. This fucking girl.
なんかゾワッときたな、今。
Whoa. Victim A whispered quietly after sneezing. Oh no.
なんだよ、風邪でもひいたか、しずき。よし、じゃあこんなとこで野球やっててもしょうがねえし、街に繰り出すとしましょうか。
The fourth game of five-man baseball. The game's spectators since starting an hour ago when playing special rules where infield grounders were called out when caught, and home runs were rewarded with leftover sweet red beet. Kosuke Kinome got on board to realize it was going to be a while until it was his turn to play.
お前ほんと猿だったんだな。先立つものがねえから野球やろうぜって言い出したのはてめえだろうが。
それはそれ、これはこれっしょ。
That was that, this is this.
だって A 組のやつらとか集まってきたしさ、俺あいつら嫌いだしさ、なんかノリが合わないっていうか。
安心しろ。あっちもてめえとは合わねえとよ。いい機会じゃねえか。気に食わないんなら試合で片付けてやれよ。こっちも本気でやってやるから。
Trevor calmly punched back down at Konami while practicing his pitching at the wall. It was harder than usual, considering because of the home run he gave up earlier. He was in Class A and taking the role of the captain for the other boys from Class A who showed up to play.
ちょっと待った。そりゃ誤解だぜ、殿下。俺たち、木の実結構好きよ。バカなところとか、平気で女連中の品評会開くところとか、合コン企画するところとか、真似できねえよ、ほんと。
All the other boys in Class A nodded affirmatively.
ざけんな、てめえらいつも美味しいところだけ持っていきやがって。カラオケ会開いてよ、女の子と遊びたいよなんて甘えてきやがって。なんで気がついたら俺一人だけで会計してたの。一緒にテニス部覗きに行ったのに、どうして俺だけ悪者なの。もしかして利用されてるだけってそろそろ気がついていいの？
Press F for Konami. Or not. He probably deserves it.
やべ、まだ気づいてなかった。本物だ。
ごめん、木の実のおかげで僕にも彼女ができました。彼女の口癖は木の実くんよりマシよです。
What assholes!
てめえら本気でムカつく。青くせえ学生生活を送ってんじゃねえ。
Trevor took his bat, swung it around as he chased after the boys in Class A. They seemed to have fun running for him while he's sarcastically thanking him. Doing his best version of his ability to remain good-natured in the face of insults.
木の実は人気者だな。
ああ、バカなのが救いだな。あれで下手に利口だったら犯罪者になってるところだ。いや、その前に今度こそ青崎に締められるか。あいつ小ずるいチンピラには容赦ねえからな。
そうなのか。今度こそ。
Trevor fell deep in thought. It sounded Konami seemed to have some kind of history with Kawasaki.
木の実は青崎にその 消装してたことがあるのか。
あ、消そう。あ、消そうか。あのバカにそんな風情があるかって。ちょいとな、青崎と木の実には条件反射じみた事件があったんだよ。ありゃ入学式のことだ。そうだよな、木の実。
Naomi froze and glanced back at Toby Barnes' provocation.
ああ、入学式な。すげえ体してる女子がいたからさ、つい声をかけたんだよな。
Okay, yeah, deserved.
彼女、どのクラスって。いや、でもまさか手が出るとは思わなかった。俺的には1センチ前で寸止めしようとしたんだけど、憶測を誤った。
Oh,
俺の視覚情報より
100% deserved
サイ
it.
ズがやや勝っていたということさね。
100% deserved it. Gonna laugh loudly as he gazed up at the sky. That's all the explanation soldier need to know what really happened that day at the entrance ceremony.
バカな。なぜ命がある木の実。
How do you live?
だろう、俺の顎垂直に跳ね上がったんだぜ。平手とか拳とかそういうレベルじゃねえ。下からギャーンだぜ、ギャーン。周りにいたギャラリー曰く、プールで縦に沈めたビート板が浮上するように青崎の靴がひらめ
Oh,
いて
brother got hit by the launcher. Oh no, he got hit by the 3C.
今だから言いますけど、俺あの後の記憶がすっぽりないのです。
Jack and Emily returned to their sides, tired of wasting his energy chasing after the Class A boys.
そんなことより遊びに行こうぜ。殿下金持ってるだろう、おごってくれよ。
たく、まあ映画なら考えないこともない。ちょうど見たい映画あんだよ。映画の内容より見終わった後に文句言い合う方が楽しい部類の B 級でな。犠牲者が必要なんで、この際てめえでもいいぞ。
やだ、映画とかつまんねえよ。大の男がさ、2時間も同じとこ座ってられねえって。そんなんだったらゲーセンかコンビニの駐車場で駄菓子食ってる方が楽しいって。
お前、それ今の状況と何が違うんだ。
いいんだよ、外でだべってれば楽しいんだって。あ、それともバンドでもやるか。今 UK ロックが熱い。バイト先の先輩にパンクロックなら誰でもできると聞いた。
ああ、そうかよ。ファッションにならねえようにな。
Courier during winter vacation. You know, me and Toby Mars spent the relaxing reprieve chattering away about nothing much of substance.
じゃあナンパ。駅前でナンパしようぜ。殿下がいれば年上のお姉さんも釣れるし。そうだ、お金がないならレディーたちにおごってもらえばいいんじゃない？
その年で紐か。てめえの人生設計明るすぎて頭痛がするぜ。
ん？俺将来の展望だけはできてるからね。なあしずき、お前からも言ってやれよ。ナンパに行こうって、女の子たちと楽しく騒ごうって。殿下は立ってるだけでいいし、しずきだって年上のお姉さんから見たら弟属性っていうの？うまくいけばこう、俺の時みたいに1時間後には一冬のアバンチュール。
アバンチュールIs that how we're translating that? Aventure! His hands were flailing around in excitement, dancing around like so many waving tentacles. Mine was apparently still swimming in the memories of a golden time we once had. Anyway.
木の実、その時なんて言ったんだ？
え？ああ、その時の決め台詞ね。お姉さん綺麗ですね。俺そこのビルのオーナーの息子なんすけど、ちょっと遊んでいきませんって。嘘だってバレたら逃げられたけどな。
そうじゃなくて入学式。
あ、そっちか。青崎の首から下の部分に向かって、うわ、お前胸でかくね？
Why is there an arrow? Why the fuck is there an arrow? A Rocky? Is that you? Joshua Part 7? Random emotes? Trust me, emoji. Oh, this guy. He autographies across stories like the town's proprietors truly remarkable. Rather mind-boggling. Nonetheless, Konomi was now in high spirits after recalling this exciting memory. Mr. Sojo was staying in complete sullen silence.
どうしたしずき？あ、やっぱりナンパとか興味ないか。
当たり前だ。てめえみたいな色ボケと宗十郎を一緒にするな。
いや、興味はある。
No, I'm interested actually.
可愛い女の子は可愛いと思うし、たまに薄着なところに出くわすと目のやり場に困るだろう。ああいう時、自分が男だってことを実感するよな。
Music cut out. Oh boy. His words shot through the air like a bolt of lightning. It was as shocking as when a kid sees the head of a character at an amusement park file, revealing the person inside.
そりゃそうだよな。すまん、見くびっていた。つまりしずきも俺たちの同志ってことでいいんだな。
同志？
そうだ。例えばこう夏場の女子のうなじに光る汗とか、テニス部の女子の肩から脇にかけての清涼感とか、ぶっちゃけ水泳部の競泳水着の後ろ姿だよ。
Peter's eyes were filled with question marks. He really ain't quite understood Konomi's explanation.
いやだから普段は同い年のガキにしか見えない女どもでもたまに見せる無防備な仕草とかグッとくるよな。
無防備なのはちょっと考えてほしい。
It was because the soldier was unsure Konomi was referring to someone in particular, whether he was just concerned about how this related to himself. A troubled look washed over his face.
いいんだって、それでいいんだって。なぜなら高校生男子の6割は性欲でできていますからね。よし、そうと決まれば早速ナンパに行こうぜ。メンツが変われば超過も変わるってもんだ。
And with that, he happily put his around Sojo's shoulders and headed off towards the train station.
ちょっと待て。あまりのことに絶句しちまったが、てめえは根本的に間違ってる。
I'm glad the Toby Bar is just like, no, wait, I think you guys are not on the same page. Please.
宗次郎、そもそもナンパって言葉が何なのか知ってるか？ん？
Question. Define pickup. To answer a telephone call, to recite Shakespearean work, to transport someone from one place to another, to pay someone's bill, to try and persuade someone to have a romantic relationship. Alright, chat, what's the correct answer here? What do you guys think is the correct answer for this? I'm leaning towards 2. Personally.
2番か。
The brain cell! It's real! Love him. Love him so much. Wrong. That does that time when a bunch of high schools are talking about picking up girls, they'd be definition number 5.
ほら見ろ。てめえとは興味の度合いが違うんだよ。女引っ掛けに行くなら一人で行け。なあ、あと岬の駅前はやめとけよ。うちの評判が悪くなるから。ナンパなら隣町でやりやがれ。
Coming our way to Santa Konoma as if he was shooing away a pest. Konoma clicked his tongue in frustration and moved his arm from around Sojo's shoulders.
くそ面白くねえ。あいよ、おとなしく野球やってますよ。いつの間にか俺たちの番が回ってきたみたいだし。
Playing all the way to the other pitcher's mound. Looked on regretfully.
おい、まさか本気でナンパに行きたかったのか？
いや、ナンパはよくわからないけど、街には用があったんだ。ちょっと欲しいものがあって。
It's like, no, actually just want to go into town.
そうだ飛び丸。生徒会室にあるあの白いやつ、どこに行けば買えるか知ってるか？
For his arm, so I make a bizarre gesture. An hour later, at the department store in front of the train station, Mara was still confused after he figured out what Sojiro wanted to buy.
しかし、なんだってこんなものを。
Wanji's stay was surprisingly comfortable for all three of the occupants. Their Alice prepared was so wonderful.
7回？アリスの実家じゃ1日に7回も食事をとるのか？一体どうやって？
Alice's question in the storeroom, the third sofa brought up from the mansion's basement by himself.
食事をとっているわけじゃないわ。ティータイムは1日7回行うのが理想というだけ。寝起きのアーリー、朝食のブレックファースト、午前のイレブンチズ、午後のミディティーブレイク、午後の社交会アフタヌーン、夜会のハイティー、ディナー後のアフターディナー。
Dad, do you have a tea schedule like this? Are you on your tea game? I don't think so.
この中で食事に該当するのは
Alice
ハイ
mugs
ティ
all
ー
of
だ
you.
けよ。田舎での話だけれど。
Alice is enjoying her black tea by herself in the sun. She's drinking a royal blend. Fine blend of Darjeeling, Ceylon, and Assam orange Picoy tea leaf. Accompanying her tea, she has some strawberries dipped in sugar. Rolled all around.
つまり一日中お茶を飲んでいるのか？
そうね。そう暮らせるのなら。
Understand why this is so hard for Sojiro to grasp. Alice pecked a strawberry up with her slender fingers and carried her mouth as she was going to give it a kiss. Sojiro was briefly transfixed by the graceful sight and shook his head to clear his throat. He became slightly too sensitive to the fact that they were indeed of the opposite sex, perhaps due to the conversation earlier that day.
でもその口ぶりだとアリスは7回できてないんだ。
3回が限度よ。相方が未熟だからやらなくちゃいけないことが増えてしまって。
相方。
Trying to look at his eye. There he saw.
何よ、1日3回も開いてれば上出来じゃない。うちの生徒会なんて黙ってお茶飲んでるだけよ。いちいち鍋からお湯沸かしてポット使ってたっぷり蒸らすなんて3時のおやつと夕食後だけで十分でしょ。アリスは手間をかけすぎ。私贅沢は好きだけど贅沢になれるのはごめんだから。
Oh, Alco's still arguing. She's in a good mood.
贅沢なのは青子たちの方よ。日本の水道水はこんなにも美味しいのに。どうしてあなたたちはこの黄金の価値に気づかないのかしら。
This tap water's fucking balling. How can I understand this, Alco?
1日7回もお茶会開く国民性じゃないからでしょ。気をつけなさいね、宗十郎。美味しい紅茶を入れようとしてペットボトルの水なんて買ってきたらアリスに1時間近くお説教されるから。知識も心構えもなってないって。
The better waters should be a better cup of tea. Ayako would bump Alice with natural spring water as soon as she moved in the state. Her proud show would tell Alice that led to the first petty argument. Thus, after quarreling about something one would not think was nearly as significant as Benchcraft.
青崎さん、夕食を作る気力残ってる。
They're actually out of breath from arguing for so long.
主義に反するけどてんやものを頼んでみよう。
That had been her first time ordering from a soba noodle shop. This not only added to Torasa chores and only accelerated since then.
いやー、あの後は悔しくってお茶について調べまくったもんだわ。アリスに質問したり競い合ってたらいつの間にか私も紅茶党の仲間入りよ。私 姉貴の影響で中学までコーヒー党だったのに。
そこには感謝しているわ。青子が連れ出してくれなかったらコープランドのアンティークカップに出会えなかったもの。
気がついたら骨董品回りしてたものね、去年の私たち。
Drawing room and the sunroom. They were not even in the same room. The two were in fun and lively conversation. I wonder why they didn't just sit together in the drawing room since they got along so well. Can't you understand how physical those stories of old memories were mean?
アリスは外に出ない子だったんだ。
ええ、この子ったらほんと屋内派で、外に出るのは学校だけだったんだから。今日だってずっと洋館にいたんでしょ、アリス。
違うわ。外に用がないだけよ。今日はプロイの補充に忙しかっただけだし。
それだ。プロイの補充ってことは、遊園地の時みたいなのはここで生まれてるのか？
Since that terrible incident, Sojo had been sensitive whenever police came up. He had only been worried about escaping with his life at the time, but as time passed, what are those mysterious things? He became filled with curiosity.
知りたい、宗十郎。
教えてくれるなら知りたいけど、いや、よく考えると聞かない方がいいような。やっぱり知りたいような。
よし、そういうことなら話してあげましょう。ちょっとした触りだけなら怒らないわよね、アリス。
Alco quickly recrossed her legs and anticipated.
別に私とあなたの違いを話すぐらいならいいけど。
よし、決まった。って何よあんた、妙な顔して。自分から言っておいて尻尾巻くの？
いや、そうではなく。
Sojo diverted his eyes at Alco's direct stare. We currently spent time together after dinner. While we would catch a glimpse of some innocent gesture of hers and would know how to respond.
いいんだ、続けてくれ。興味はある。
よし、じゃあコマ撮り呼ばないとね。それでは特別授業、なぜなにプロイキッシャー、始まり始まり。
Alco snapped her fingers. Realized she was trying to mimic turning on the switch to a TV. It was a veritable TV special. A lecture about a certain brand of Magecraft performed and directed by Alice Kawanji first. Iman, Robin! You say Robin? Unfortunately, special production was cancelled only 30 minutes after it began. Apparently the content had been a little too esoteric for Sojiro.
分かってはいたけど、しずきくんの覚えの悪さは最善世界に響き渡る。
He's too stupid for an explanation. That he was better off dead, but took a deep breath to avoid being hurt.
かわいそうなアリス。さすがに今回は同情するわ。そいつにとっちゃ、私の魔術もアリスの魔術もすごく便利でくくられちゃうものだなんて。他の魔術師が聞いたら失神者の屈辱よ。
They just like boil it down to just convenience. Like, it's more than that. Alco was exasperated. He also felt some measure of regret. Realized this would be the outcome.
そんなことはない。ちゃんと区別はつく。青崎は壊すだけで、アリスはいろんなものを作って、それで壊すんだ。アリスの方がやや生産的。
That's so reductive. That's surprisingly reductive. Oh shit. The difference between Aozaki and Alice is that Alice uses a tool to break things with. Aozaki just does it.
怖いわ青子。私どうしてこんなに苦しい。こういうことって本当にあるのね。
Alco, my pride. All my life, I can feel it burning in my chest. The pain.
まるでお気に入りのカップを割ってしまった時、通りかかったキリンにでもトロルよりマシですよと慰められた気分だわ。
That's supposed. I could glare at Alice across from her. Alice alluded to a fairy tale of a less intelligent giant who lived under a bridge.
今の宗十郎の指摘結構合ってると思うけど、私アリスのプロイが生活の役に立つとこ見たことないし、コマドリも双子も最後はドジって終わりじゃない。
それは結果論よ。役立とうという諸子は尊重するべきだわ。だいたいあれやそれが最後に全部台無しにするのは私の責任じゃないのだし。
Both girls were now just intent to call each other out. It seemed neither wanted to admit their own shortcomings when it came to magecraft. It came down to a silly argument about who was the worst at breaking things.
いや、でもアリスの使い魔は役に立ってるぞ。前に森で落ち葉を集めている豚を見かけた。あれはアリスの使い魔なのに、なんで青崎に言ってやらないんだ？まあ、いいことをしたのに黙っているのは美徳だって山城先生は言ってたけど。
Alice had simply sent the chatty twins out into the forest to break in, as it were. Startled, this had seemed like a good deed. Alco was visibly getting more fed up with the conversations, and Sojo decided Alice was the victor here.
掃除をしているから生産的とか、ずいぶん小さな判断ですこと。もっとこう大きな視点で評価できないのかしらね、このお掃除マシーンは。
大きな視点。例えばお金儲けとか。
Making money? Uh-oh. The two girls both try to remain calm and face such a direct question. Even a fool could think of a good idea sometimes.
呆れた。我ながらその発想は。
What if we used What if we used the power of magic to make money?
盲点すぎたっていうか、基本魔術って損失しか生まないも
What
の
if we
だ。
had gains? That's not affirmatively.
それで例えばあなたから見て私の魔術はどんな金策ができると思う？
青崎ならそうだな、マグロを捕まえるのはどうだろう。
Catch fish. Silence. Alco adjusted the position and crossed legs.
なんでマグロ？
My tuna. This is question seriously.
いや、朝一で大変高価だと聞いた。でも捕まえるのは難しいって。あんな巨大なものが水の中では車より速く泳ぐと。
そりゃ地球が誇る大型肉食魚だからね。お寿司屋さんでも最強だし、平均時速60キロ、マックススピードは時速180キロに迫ると聞くわ。
部長曰く青崎は泳ぎがうまいって。泳いで捕まえられないか？
Just fucking swim for it, Alco. You could do it.
もう魔術関係ないわね、それ。仮にマダンで迎撃できたとしても保存できないわ。私、回転を早めるのが専門で止めるのはちょっと。
He's trying his best.
魚は苦手。
Alice quietly added that some of them were only objects to her, so she couldn't feel comfortable harboring them. Alco shrugged her shoulders, throwing the idea to the side.
ところで、喧嘩売ってる？しずきくん。
すまない。実はちょっとからかってみた。
Oh no, he's getting strangled by the collar. The collar around his neck tightened for a good 5 seconds. It was as tight as a sleeper hold.
と、まあ、青崎には乱暴なことしか期待できないとして、アリスはどうなんだ？何も言わないということは、魔術でお金儲けは気に入らない？
そうね。好き嫌いはともかく、お金があるのはいいことだわ。業界の目をくぐり抜けることができるなら、青子には頑張ってほしい。
危ない目に遭うのは私だけか。アリスのプロにはなんかないの？土食べたら金に変換するようなカバとか。ほら、中世の貴族はお抱えの錬金術師で日夜金を作り出す研究をしてたって言うじゃない？
Some Pericles, come on.
あれはただの金食い虫。まあ騙した貴族たちの貯蓄を食いつぶして新しい技術を生み出したから無意味ではなかったけど、このマイセンももともとは金を作ると豪語した錬金術師が苦し紛れに生んだ時期なわけだし。
Finger along the edge of the teacup in her hand.
はあ、錬金術師ほど当てにならないやつはいないってわけか。今じゃプラハの錬金術師は証券魔術師、エジプトの方は兵器作ってるって話だしね。
ええ、ちょっと期待してしまったけど、もともと私たちは現実社会と折り合いが悪いのよ。ロンドンの名門になると家訓と授業は別物と割り切っていて、金融専門の弟子を取っているわ。
I need money.
噂だけど、ある財閥の総帥は社員全員の血を吸って情報を共有する
What the fuck is-
ネッ
did
ト
they
ワ
turn-
ークを作っているとか。
What the fuck, were they a DA or something?
何でも吸血鬼になった理由が精神的につながった決して内部闘争しない紹介を作りたいからだったとか。
極まってるな。要はそこまで徹底しないと魔術でお金儲けは難しいってことか。あ、アリスのプロイで遊園地をやるのはどう？
There's a couple stands together in excitement.
それはいい。襲われるのはもうゴリゴリだけど、あの遊園地なら連日連夜大盛況だ。
私のプロイを見せ物にする気？
Oh.
でも大受けよ、絶対。ロボットって言い張ればみんな騙されるし。
Highly articulated robot designs.
却下よ青子。この話もう一度したら絶好だから。
本気で怒らせたか。だってさ、宗十郎、遊園地は諦めましょう。今度こそ友情を失っちゃうし。
Go back down to Alice's cold rejection. Small talk continued, but the girls grew more distant as they tried to avoid further conflict. Peter looked at the two with a perplexed expression.
ちょっといいかな。今猛烈に気になったんだが。
何？
いや、青崎もアリスも遊園地で本気で殺し合っただろう。それなのにまだ友達だったのか？
Certainly a rude question to ask. It's also an obvious thing to ask. Alice looked at each other as though they thought of the answer. Stared at each other for about 2 seconds.
ギリギリあり？
It's just like how life happens, man.
まあギリギリ。
ありなんだ。
I didn't know that. The friendship was surprisingly lighthearted. They'd be fortune bonds harder than steel. Happens, it happens. If I kill you, that just happens, man. That's sorry. Long extended tea party just started to get going when Sudra had to leave. He didn't really want to sign since he was enjoying himself, but he couldn't miss his part-time job.
2時間も話してたなんて珍しいわね。アリスもいつになく饒舌だったし。
成り行きよ。しずきくんがあれこれ青子に質問して、あなたがそれを私にも向けてきただけ。
Looked them back into me, Alco.
と、私たちが一日何をしているのかなんて聞いても仕方がないのに。
いや、それがそうでもない。大変役に立ちました。
はい？
Sudra was carrying something down the hallway, ignoring Alco's surprise. It was a large whiteboard, much like the one in the student council room. Oh, he bought a whiteboard? On the shiny board was written, chores list. Cleaning, breakfast, dinner, cleaning the bath.
なんかいろいろと詮索してくると思ったら、そういう裏があったわけ？
うん。歪みを正したかったら、まずどこがおかしいのか知らないといけないからね。
He was probing for information the entire time. He was getting their asses.
今夜の話じゃ、二人とも一日に1時間ぐらいは使える時間があるみたいだし、 3人で1つの台所を使ってるんだから、ローテーションを組んだ方がいいだろう。
Let's
協力できると
go.
ころは協力しないと。
Sojo's clearly proud of his attempt making things better around here.
待って。私はあなたを住まわせているだけで、協力なんてする気はないって言ったでしょ。
うん、言ったね。でも、夕食を用意するなら私の分もお願いと言いたいのなら、相互扶助は当然の義務だと思うんだ。あと3人で食費を集めれば、その分美味しいものが食べられるよ。
Our standard of living will increase, guys. Come on. Sojo's words pierced Alice's heart. She knew she had asked him to make dinner for her on many occasions. It was a carefully planned attack designed to make her repent for her sins, and she knew it.
でもホワイトボードを用意することはないんじゃない？当番なんて今まで口約束で決めてきたんだし。
Alice nodded her agreement. Oh, they're trying! There's nothing less reliable in this world than a verbal promise. They didn't say so, so you could tell by the look on their faces that they intended to skip out on whatever task they were assigned to do.
ダメだ。正しい生活を送るには正しい役割を把握しないと。こういう風に書いておけば後になっても忘れないだろう。
Alco recoiled at this new development. You could tell Sojo was just being nicer for you, saying he wouldn't tolerate any slackers.
なんてこと。証明文を書かせて、責任の所在を明らかにしようだなんて。
Alice looks like she's about to die. Alice is absolutely terrified of the prospect of daily chores.
決まりだな。誰がどこを担当するかはまた明日話し合おう。今の2人が大変なのは分かってるから、しばらくの間はこっちが多めに受け持つよ。
And with that, Sojo left. Two girls left behind could only sit and stare, staring at the shiny new whiteboard.
こういうのを飼い犬に手を噛まれるというのかしら。
知ってた。私、あいつがそういう
Oh
やつ
no.
って知ってたわ。
You have to do chores! But that was too late. They'd already been caught in the trap. Just this morning, I could receive the portion of the salad Sojo prepared. She knew it would be wrong for her to veto the idea of them all helping each other out. As if dividing separate chores made perfect sense to Alco after all. Even so, she wanted to be able to tip the ratio of chores in her favor, at least sometimes.
青子、あなた、何を考えているか丸分かりよ。
Alco, no bribing.
そうでしょうとも。間違いなく同じことを考えてたからね、私たち。
Like I said, she grabbed the whiteboard. She's gonna hang it up in the kitchen so they could all see it. Alice was still staring at the whiteboard blankly.
せめて、新しい項目が増えなければいいけど。
She would come to regret ever saying those words. There will be more chores. What the fuck? Oh, okay, so the 30 minutes where Alice or Alco was explaining ploys and stuff, before I'll get into its own separate book. It's familiar. Let's learn ploy kickshaw. So if you actually like wanted to get interested, I was like, yeah, here's the book for it. It's gonna be a little bit ahead in knowledge, but if you want to get ahead, there you go. Alright. With that said, though, we're gonna call a stream there. The next optional book looks like it's gonna be long, and I'm pretty sure I could just start that next session. Get that and another whole suite of chapters done. What a fun session! I'm glad Sono-G was able to get one over on Alco and Alice. It's like, no, we're doing chores. You guys will be working. Got your ass in 4K. I love the dynamic. I love how it's evolving. Rent acquired. You might be paying rent, but damn, I'm gonna make sure that rent is actually going to our standard of living. I hope y'all enjoyed. Next Tuesday, actually, I might be doing a stream on Monday. I'll have a lot more free time. Next week's gonna be interesting. I have a lot of free days off because I have a lot of free days off. I have a lot more days where like people are bugging me about stuff, so might do longer streams, see how it goes. But yeah. More just as long as my voice doesn't accidentally give out. That would be bad. I would just would I bring text to speech or just bring a co-com and just have them read everything? Wouldn't that be fun? I'm just gonna be here reacting. You're gonna be saying everything. Show the chore of talking to you. Anyway, hope everybody has a great night.